As you stand in the quiet dust of ancient Mesopotamia, a sense of wonder washes over you. The land around you dry and cracked once thrived with the bustling energy of Sumer, the cradle of civilization. Here, more than 5,000 years ago, the Sumerians began building cities, temples, and systems of writing that would shape the future of humanity. But as you study the artifacts left behind, carved stone tablets, intricate statues, and majestic ziggurats, you can't help but wonder. What if there's more to this story than the history we know? You may already be familiar with the Sumerians' legendary accomplishments. Their establishment of one of the earliest known civilizations, complete with a written language and complex social structures. Most historians agree that Sumer's influence on later cultures is undeniable. Yet, there's a curious element woven into the narrative of Sumer that raises questions: the mysterious beings called the Anunnaki. Ancient texts from the Sumerians themselves suggest that these figures were not mere myth, but something more, beings from the heavens whose teachings shaped everything from agriculture to law. Could it be possible that the Anunnaki were not gods as the Sumerians described them, but rather visitors from another world, or perhaps a highly advanced civilization? In Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki were often depicted as divine beings who came from the sky, tasked with guiding humanity in its earliest stages. These beings were said to have bestowed knowledge upon the Sumerians, teaching them to harness the land, build cities, and form the very foundations of society. The mystery lies in how the Sumerians understood them. Could the Anunnaki have been actual extraterrestrial beings? Or were they simply advanced people whose knowledge seemed divine to a primitive society? One interpretation suggests that their influence was a turning point for the Sumerians, as it marked the shift from a primitive nomadic existence to settled agricultural societies. What if this advancement was a result of alien interaction, a possibility that has fascinated theorists for decades? Some say that the Anunnaki's arrival wasn't just a myth, but a historical event. An event that might have had cosmic implications for the course of humanity's development. Could the knowledge they brought have been far beyond anything the Sumerians could have developed on their own? Scholars still argue whether these accounts are purely symbolic, or whether they hint at an extraordinary encounter with beings who possessed advanced technology. The evidence we do have points to the Sumerians' belief in the Anunnaki as gods. Yet their knowledge of metallurgy, agriculture, and mathematics raises the possibility that these beings were more than just mythological figures. The question of whether the Anunnaki were divine beings or extraterrestrial visitors is not one easily answered. Archaeology suggests that the Sumerians placed great importance on their interactions with these figures, constructing large ziggurats or stepped pyramids as temples to honor them. But if these beings were gods, why did the Sumerians describe them in such a human-like way? Could they have been visitors from another planet? Their advanced technology mistaken for divine power by a people with no frame of reference for such knowledge? It's possible that the Sumerians saw them as gods, because their technology was so far advanced it seemed like magic. A more cautious explanation could be that the Anunnaki were simply early teachers of civilization, passing on knowledge from one culture to the next, much as other ancient figures did. As you stand near the ruins of a ziggurat, imagining what it must have been like during the height of Sumerian power, you can't help but think of the possibilities. the stone walls that once housed priest-kings and the scribes who chronicled their histories still stand, though weathered by time. Was this structure a place for divine worship, or could it have been something more? An energy source, a center of knowledge, or even an astronomical observatory? Some fringe theories suggest that these ziggurats were not simply places of religious worship, but were actually advanced machines designed for purposes unknown to us today. If we treat it as a possibility rather than a conclusion, could these towering structures have been more than symbols of religious devotion? What if they were power sources or even communication devices left behind by a civilization that understood forces far beyond our own? Historians still argue whether the Anunnaki were truly divine beings, or whether they were extraterrestrials who influenced the Sumerians. There's no full consensus on the matter, and many scholars hesitate to support such fringe theories. The mainstream view is that the Anunnaki were gods revered by the Sumerians for their power over the natural world. Yet the evidence points to something more, something that suggests these figures might have been more than just myth. What if the Anunnaki's true role was as early educators of humanity, passing on knowledge that helped shape the rise of Sumer and beyond? In the ancient texts, the Anunnaki were depicted as being both powerful and wise, bringing not just agriculture and law, but also the knowledge of the stars. This celestial knowledge raises even more questions. Could the Anunnaki have had access to advanced technology that allowed them to navigate the heavens, perhaps even from another star system? The mystery isn't in what we know, but in what we can't confirm. If the Anunnaki were indeed extraterrestrials, what would that mean for the rest of human history? Could the Sumerians' achievements have been the result of guidance from beings far beyond our understanding? The Sumerians weren't the only civilization to have stories of sky gods. Similar myths can be found in other ancient cultures, from Egypt to the Americas. Could these common threads indicate that the Anunnaki were not just a Sumerian invention, but a shared figure across many early civilizations? Some fringe ideas propose that these stories of gods from the sky are not mere coincidence, but evidence of a widespread encounter with extraterrestrial beings. A popular rumor claims that the Anunnaki were responsible for the pyramids of Egypt, suggesting that they either helped the Egyptians construct them or even taught them the technology needed to do so. While this theory isn't widely accepted, it continues to capture the imagination of those who believe in the possibility of extraterrestrial influence on ancient cultures. What if the story is pointing at something else? Could the ancient accounts of the Anunnaki be more than just religious symbolism? Could they be encoded messages hinting at a much deeper truth about the origins of humanity? The evidence for this idea is thin, but the possibility lingers in the background of ancient texts and artifacts. Some suggest that the Anunnaki were trying to convey knowledge about the cosmos, knowledge that has been lost over time and is only now beginning to resurface in modern science. As you walk further through the ruins, the idea of the Anunnaki continues to swirl in your mind. The ancient records speak of gods who came from the heavens, who shared knowledge with humanity, and who were revered as divine. But what if these records are not just mythology? What if they are the remnants of an encounter with beings who were far beyond the capabilities of the people of that time? There's no way to know for sure, but the clues are there, hidden in plain sight for those willing to look. As you continue to walk through the ruins of the ancient Sumerian city, The whispers of a time long past seem to echo in the wind. You begin to understand that the story of the Anunnaki is not merely one of myth, but a puzzle, its pieces scattered across centuries of history waiting to be assembled. The Sumerians, among the first to record their lives in writing, left behind detailed accounts of their gods and rulers. These texts, some carved into clay tablets, and others written on stone paint, a picture of a highly organized society under the guidance of powerful beings. Most historians agree that these beings, the Anunnaki, were central to Sumerian beliefs and practices, but their true identity remains a matter of debate. What if the Anunnaki weren't gods in the traditional sense, but beings who arrived from another world or a highly advanced civilization? One interpretation suggests that the Sumerians may have viewed them as divine figures because their technology and knowledge were so far beyond what the people could comprehend. The difference between technology and divine intervention is in many ways a matter of perspective. What if the gifts of the Anunnaki, such as agriculture, metallurgy, and even writing, were part of a much more significant technological exchange, one that altered the course of human civilization? The evidence we do have points to the possibility that the Anunnaki were indeed powerful figures, but whether they were gods extraterrestrials or highly advanced humans remains an open question. In Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki are described as having a significant role in the creation of humanity. According to the Enuma Elish, one of the oldest known creation stories, the gods created humans to perform labor, specifically to work the land and care for the gods' temples. This narrative paints a picture of a divine being intervening in the natural world, shaping humanity's destiny. However, a careful reading might suggest that this creation story could also reflect a much different reality. What if the gods were not deities, but beings with a far more advanced understanding of genetics and biology? What if the Anunnaki's role in human creation wasn't about divinity, but about manipulation, genetic engineering, or some other form of biological intervention? Historians still argue whether the Anunnaki were divine beings or extraterrestrials, but the idea that they played a role in shaping human evolution continues to captivate those who explore ancient mysteries. Some propose that the Sumerians' reference to the Anunnaki could be a metaphor for an extraterrestrial influence on human development rather than a literal account of divine intervention. If we accept this theory as a possibility, it raises a host of questions. Could the Anunnaki have played a pivotal role in humanity's genetic makeup, guiding our evolution from primitive beings to advanced civilizations? And if so, what might that say about the origins of human intelligence and society? Among the many artifacts found in the ruins of Sumer, there are depictions of the Anunnaki that suggest they were seen as both human and divine. The gods were often portrayed as towering figures, often with the same physical features as the Sumerians, but their clothing and adornments marked them as something otherworldly. One interpretation is that these representations are a reflection of how the Sumerians saw the Anunnaki beings, who were similar to them in appearance, but with powers and knowledge that set them apart. The mystery deepens when you consider the possibility that these beings were not gods, but extraterrestrials who visited Earth and interacted with humanity, perhaps teaching them the skills and knowledge that led to the rise of civilization. This theory isn't widely accepted, but the idea of an ancient alien presence on Earth continues to spark the imagination of many. The Sumerian ziggurats, often thought of as religious temples, could hold more significance than previously thought. These grand structures, which were the centerpieces of Sumerian cities, were designed to honor the gods. But what if they were not just places of worship, but also machines, devices that harnessed some form of energy? Some fringe theories suggest that the ziggurats could have been part of an ancient power grid designed by the Anunnaki to harvest and store energy for their use. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Sumerians had an advanced understanding of architecture and engineering. But could they have built these structures with the help of beings who had far greater knowledge of energy systems and technology? If we treat this theory as a possibility rather than a conclusion, the implications are profound. What if the ziggurats were not merely religious structures, but technological marvels, built to facilitate communication or energy transmission? Could the Anunnaki have used these structures to communicate with other civilizations or even other planets? Some suggest that the ziggurats could have been part of a much larger network of ancient technologies, one that was either lost or destroyed over time. While mainstream historians might dismiss these ideas as mere speculation, the fact remains that the true purpose of the ziggurats and many other ancient structures is still a matter of mystery. In Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki are often depicted as possessing advanced knowledge of the heavens. Their influence on astronomy is clear from the many references to the stars, planets, and constellations that appear in Sumerian writings. Could the Anunnaki have been advanced astronomers using their knowledge to guide the Sumerians in matters of agriculture, navigation, and timekeeping? Some scholars argue that the Sumerians' understanding of the cosmos was far ahead of their time, and that this knowledge could have been imparted to them by the Anunnaki. It's possible that the Anunnaki, with their advanced technology, were able to navigate the stars and share that knowledge with the Sumerians, teaching them how to track celestial bodies and use them for practical purposes. A popular theory claims that the Anunnaki's knowledge of the stars was not just about understanding the heavens, but about using that knowledge to influence the course of human events. What if their guidance was not limited to agriculture and technology, but extended to the manipulation of human destiny? Could the Anunnaki have had a hand in shaping the rise and fall of ancient civilizations, steering humanity toward certain outcomes? Historians still argue whether the Anunnaki were merely observers or active participants in the shaping of human history. But the idea that they may have had a hand in human destiny remains a tantalizing possibility. One of the most enduring mysteries of the Anunnaki is the story of their disappearance. According to Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki eventually withdrew from the earth, leaving humanity to fend for itself. But what if their departure wasn't a simple withdrawal? Could the Anunnaki have left Earth for another reason? Perhaps because their mission was complete, or because they were forced to leave, due to some external threat. Some fringe theories suggest that the Anunnaki did not simply disappear, but that they retreated to a distant planet, waiting for the right moment to return. The evidence for this theory is scant, but it raises intriguing questions about the fate of these mysterious beings. In the centuries since, the Anunnaki are said to have departed. Their legacy has lived on in the form of myths, legends, and artifacts. The Sumerians' understanding of the gods may have been shaped by their encounters with the Anunnaki, but their stories continue to captivate modern audiences. What if these ancient tales are not just the products of an ancient people's imagination, but but encoded messages meant to guide humanity toward a greater understanding of its origins. Some believe that the key to unlocking the true nature of the Anunnaki lies in these stories, hidden in plain sight for those who are willing to look. As you explore the vast ruins of Sumer, the echoes of a forgotten world seem to rise up, urging you to listen. The city around you, with its crumbled walls and weathered stone, tells a story of human ambition, struggle, and divine intervention, or at least what the Sumerians believed to be divine. Their civilization flourished under the watchful eyes of their gods, the Anunnaki, whose names are etched into the very fabric of history. But as you trace these divine names and the stories they are tied to, a larger question persists. Were the Anunnaki truly gods, or could they have been something else? Something beyond human understanding? What if the Anunnaki weren't gods but extraterrestrial visitors with advanced knowledge and technology? This idea, while often met with skepticism in mainstream circles, has long been a topic of debate among those who study ancient civilizations. Many historians believe that the Anunnaki were simply deities in the religious sense, part of a pantheon that governed various aspects of the natural world. What's broadly accepted is that the Sumerians saw the Anunnaki as divine beings who helped them navigate the challenges of early human civilization. However, as you delve deeper into the Sumerian accounts, you begin to see a different picture emerging, one that challenges the traditional view of these gods. The Sumerians, like many ancient cultures, built monuments to honor their gods. Among these monuments, the ziggurats stand out as particularly significant. These towering structures, with their massive staircases and expansive platforms, were said to have been constructed to serve as temples for the Anunnaki. The fact that these ziggurats were so large and complex suggests that they were not simply places of worship, but rather centers of power, knowledge, and perhaps even technology. Archaeology suggests that the Sumerians devoted considerable resources to the construction of these monumental structures, which were not only religious in function, but also played a central role in their society. What if these ziggurats were not only places for divine worship, but also machines, tools that the Anunnaki used to harness energy or communicate with distant worlds? This theory remains a fringe idea, but it raises intriguing possibilities about the true purpose of these ancient structures. The presence of advanced knowledge in the Sumerian civilization raises another question. How did the Sumerians acquire such sophisticated skills in agriculture, mathematics, and astronomy? Historians still argue whether these advances were the result of human ingenuity or whether they were inspired by the Anunnaki. What if the Sumerians' rapid progress in these areas was not merely a result of trial and error, but of direct guidance from the Anunnaki, whose knowledge of these subjects far surpassed that of any civilization at the time? It's possible that the Anunnaki shared their advanced understanding of agriculture, allowing the Sumerians to cultivate crops in ways they never could have imagined on their own. This could explain the sudden leap in agricultural productivity that occurred around the time the Anunnaki are believed to have arrived. In addition to agriculture, the Anunnaki are also credited with introducing the Sumerians to the concept of writing. The Sumerians are among the first civilizations known to have developed a system of written language, and their use of cuneiform has been preserved in thousands of clay tablets. What if this writing system was not something the Sumerians developed independently, but was instead taught to them by the Anunnaki? Some scholars suggest that the Sumerians' ability to create such a sophisticated writing system could have been the result of their exposure to an advanced civilization, one that had a deep understanding of linguistics and communication. Could the Anunnaki have provided the Sumerians with the tools to record their history, their laws, and their beliefs? If this is true, it would mean that the written records we have today, those that offer insight into the early days of human civilization, are the legacy of the Anunnaki themselves. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki is their connection to the stars. The Sumerians were keen astronomers, and their understanding of the heavens was far more advanced than might be expected for a civilization so ancient. They divided the sky into constellations, tracked the movements of the planets, and created a calendar based on the lunar cycle. Could this knowledge have been passed down by the Anunnaki, who were described as having a deep understanding of the cosmos? Some fringe theories suggest that the Anunnaki were not only skilled astronomers, but also had the technology to travel through space. If this is the case, it raises the possibility that their knowledge of the stars was not just theoretical, but based on first-hand experience. What if the Sumerians were taught to read the stars by beings who had traveled across the heavens themselves? As you stand amidst the ruins of Sumer, it's hard not to wonder if the Anunnaki's influence extended beyond their time on Earth. The Sumerians believed that the gods would return to guide humanity once again. What if this belief was based on something more than just religious myth? Could the Anunnaki have planned to return? Or did they leave behind a blueprint for future generations to follow? The idea that the Anunnaki would return is a popular rumor among those who believe in ancient astronaut theories. However, there's no conclusive evidence to support this claim, and historians still argue whether it is based on a literal interpretation of Sumerian texts or a misreading of ancient prophecies. If we treat this as a possibility rather than a conclusion, it raises the intriguing question of whether the Sumerians were waiting for the return of their gods, or whether they were waiting for the return of beings with a far more advanced understanding of the universe. Historians still debate the extent of the Anunnaki's influence on the development of Sumerian civilization. While it's clear that the Sumerians had a profound belief in their gods and the power of the Anunnaki, the question remains, were the Anunnaki truly divine beings, or were they something else entirely? The evidence we have points to the possibility that the Anunnaki were a catalyst for the rise of civilization, but whether they were gods extraterrestrials or simply advanced humans is still a matter of mystery. What if the truth lies somewhere in between? What if the Anunnaki were neither gods nor aliens, but beings from an ancient civilization that shared knowledge with humanity to help it reach its full potential? As you leave the ancient city behind, the questions about the Anunnaki linger in your mind. The ruins of Sumer are silent now, but the stories they hold continue to echo through the centuries. What if the answers to these questions are hidden in the stars or buried beneath the sands of time, waiting to be discovered by those who are willing to seek them out? The mystery of the Anunnaki is far from solved, but perhaps that is what makes it so compelling. The more you learn, the more you realize that the story of the Anunnaki is not just the story of ancient gods or aliens. It is the story of humanity's quest to understand its place in the universe. As you continue your exploration of ancient Sumer, the layers of mystery surrounding the Anunnaki begin to deepen. the Sumerians' belief in their divine patrons is evident in their vast body of myth and lore. But the more you dig into their records, the more the question arises. Were the Anunnaki truly gods, or were they something else entirely? What if the Sumerians' reverence for these beings was less about divinity and more about an encounter with an incredibly advanced civilization, one that left a lasting imprint on the very foundation of humanity? The Sumerians, like many ancient cultures, had gods for every aspect of life, from the sun and moon to water and fertility. But the Anunnaki were different. These beings were not just patrons of agriculture or the natural world. They were credited with teaching humanity the very tools that would allow civilization to flourish. Most historians agree that the Sumerians' agricultural advances were extraordinary for their time. Yet, the question remains, could the Anunnaki have played a part in this revolution? Could their advanced knowledge have accelerated human development, transforming a primitive hunter-gatherer society into one capable of building cities, writing and creating complex social structures? One interpretation suggests that the Anunnaki's role in teaching the Sumerians was far more than symbolic. What if the knowledge they imparted was so advanced that it transcended the limits of what could be understood by a people without the benefit of modern science? Could it be that the Sumerians, in their reverence for these beings, ascribed divine qualities to what were in fact extraterrestrial visitors or advanced humans from an ancient forgotten civilization? The evidence we do have points to the Sumerians' understanding of complex agricultural practices and technologies that seem far ahead of their time. And yet these practices were credited to their gods, the Anunnaki. The agricultural knowledge attributed to the Anunnaki is significant. Sumerians developed advanced irrigation systems, which allowed them to transform the land from a barren, arid place into fertile fields that could sustain large populations. What if this knowledge did not come from trial and error, but from beings who had mastered the science of agriculture centuries or even millennia? Before the Sumerians, could the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of biology, climate, and ecosystems, have shared techniques that allowed humanity to thrive in a harsh environment? Some fringe theories propose that the Anunnaki were not just visitors, but that their knowledge of Earth's ecosystems was so advanced it seemed like magic to the people of Sumer. This idea remains speculative, but the rapid development of agriculture in ancient Sumer suggests that something or someone guided the Sumerians to success. As you move through the ancient city, your thoughts turn to the role of the Anunnaki in the development of the Sumerian writing system. The Sumerians are credited with creating one of the earliest forms of writing cuneiform, which was used to record everything from trade transactions to religious ceremonies. What if the Anunnaki played a role in the development of this system? It's possible that the Sumerians' encounter with these beings sparked a need for record keeping, leading to the development of writing, as a way to document their interactions with the gods. One theory suggests that the Sumerians didn't invent writing on their own, but were taught by the Anunnaki, whose own advanced methods of communication might have been far beyond what the Sumerians could have conceived on their own. Historians still argue whether the development of writing was an entirely human achievement, or whether the Anunnaki played a role in the invention of this crucial technology. Some scholars believe that the Sumerians invented writing independently, using it as a tool for administration and trade. Others, however, suggest that the Sumerians may have been inspired by the Anunnaki's own methods of communication. What if the Anunnaki used writing to record their knowledge and pass it down to humanity, much like how modern humans use writing to preserve knowledge for future generations. If this theory is true, it would mean that the written records we have today, those that provide us with insight into the early history of humanity, are not just the work of the Sumerians, but the result of an ancient exchange of knowledge between humanity and an advanced civilization. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki is their connection to the heavens. The Sumerians were keen astronomers with a deep understanding of the stars and planets. They tracked the movements of celestial bodies with great precision, and their knowledge of the cosmos was far more advanced than we would expect for a civilization so ancient. Could the Anunnaki have shared their astronomical knowledge with the Sumerians, teaching them to navigate the stars and track the movements of the planets? Some fringe theories suggest that the Anunnaki were not just skilled astronomers, but that they came from the stars themselves, their knowledge of the heavens the result of centuries of interstellar travel. If this is the case, it raises the question, how did the Sumerians come to possess such advanced knowledge of the cosmos? It's possible that the Anunnaki's influence on Sumerian astronomy was more than just a matter of teaching the Sumerians how to track the stars. What if the Anunnaki's knowledge of the stars was tied to their origins? And what if they used their understanding of the cosmos to guide the Sumerians in more than just practical matters? Could the Anunnaki have used the stars to predict the future, or to influence the course of human events? Some scholars argue that the Sumerians' knowledge of astrology and celestial events was not just a practical tool for farming or navigation, but that it played a central role in their understanding of fate and destiny. Historians still argue whether the Sumerians' astrological practices were purely symbolic, or whether they held real predictive power. What if the Anunnaki shared their knowledge of the stars in a way that allowed the Sumerians to gain a deeper understanding of the universe's hidden patterns? The relationship between the Anunnaki and the Sumerians is one of the most enduring mysteries of ancient history. While most historians agree that the Sumerians saw the Anunnaki as their gods, the question remains, were they truly divine beings, or could they have been visitors from another world or even a distant future? The evidence we have points to a profound influence on Sumerian society, but the nature of that influence remains elusive. Could the Anunnaki have played a role in shaping the Sumerian civilization, providing them with knowledge and technology that would propel them into greatness? Or were they simply gods in the traditional sense, their power and wisdom a reflection of the Sumerians' reverence for them? As you stand in the ruins of this ancient city, it becomes clear that the Anunnaki were more than just figures in a myth. Their legacy, whether divine, extraterrestrial, or something else entirely, has left an indelible mark on human history. The Sumerians may have seen them as gods, but what if they were something more, beings whose knowledge and technology set the stage for the rise of civilization? The mystery of the Anunnaki continues to captivate those who seek to understand the origins of human civilization. And as you walk through the ancient city, you realize that the answers may be just as elusive as the gods themselves. As the remnants of the ancient city stretch out before you, it's impossible to ignore the profound sense of mystery that clings to the place. The ruins, while impressive, are but fragments of a once thriving civilization that rose to prominence under the guidance of the Anunnaki. The legacy they left behind is more than just physical monuments. It's woven into the very fabric of human history. Yet, as you explore the remnants of this ancient world, a question lingers in your mind. What if the influence of the Anunnaki extended far beyond what we can see today? Could their teachings have shaped not only Sumer, but also the course of civilization itself? Most historians agree that the Sumerians were one of the first great civilizations developing advanced systems of writing law and agriculture. What's broadly accepted is that their remarkable achievements laid the foundation for many of the systems we still use today. Yet, as you study their written records and artifacts, you begin to wonder, how could a civilization so ancient have developed such complex systems? Could the Sumerians have received help from the Anunnaki? This possibility is not just a fringe theory. There is something about the rapid advancement of Sumer that doesn't entirely add up. How could people, without modern science or technology, develop the intricate systems they did seemingly overnight? Some scholars suggest that the Sumerians' breakthroughs in agriculture, architecture, and writing were the result of their own ingenuity. But what if the Anunnaki, with their advanced knowledge, played a pivotal role in guiding these developments? It's possible that the Sumerians didn't invent these technologies themselves, but were taught them by beings who had far greater knowledge of the natural world and the cosmos. Could the Anunnaki have shared their knowledge of farming techniques, allowing the Sumerians to unlock the secrets of irrigation and crop cultivation? If so, it might explain why Sumer flourished so rapidly, transforming from small agricultural communities to one of the most powerful civilizations of its time. A closer look at Sumerian mythology reveals even more clues. The Anunnaki were not just gods of agriculture or the natural world, but also figures of great wisdom and technological prowess. In many texts, they are depicted as having knowledge that transcended the boundaries of the natural world. Could this knowledge have been a form of advanced science passed down from an alien or ancient civilization? One interpretation is that the Anunnaki were not divine beings in the traditional sense, but visitors from another world or time, bringing with them a wealth of knowledge that was far beyond the comprehension of the Sumerians. What if the gods the Sumerians worshipped were simply beings who understood the natural world in ways that the Sumerians could not? As you stand among the ruins, you can't help but feel the weight of this question. Could the Anunnaki have had a role in guiding not only the Sumerians, but other civilizations that followed? It's not just the Sumerians who have legends of sky gods and divine interventions. Similar stories appear in the mythologies of the Egyptians, the Maya, and even the ancient cultures of the Far East. Could these stories all be echoes of the same beings, the Anunnaki, who spread their knowledge across the world, leaving their mark on the development of human civilization? The possibility is tantalizing, but also deeply speculative. There's no concrete evidence to support this theory, and mainstream scholars continue to argue whether these shared myths are simply the result of cultural diffusion, or if they point to something more profound. Historians still argue whether the Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki are based on real events or are purely mythological. Some suggest that the Sumerians, like many ancient cultures, created gods to explain the forces of nature they didn't understand. In this view, the Anunnaki are seen as symbolic representations of the natural world gods who personify the forces of creation and destruction, but not actual beings who interacted with humanity. What if the truth lies somewhere in between? Could the Anunnaki have been real flesh and blood beings who shaped the course of human history, but were later mythologized by the Sumerians and other ancient cultures? This idea remains controversial, but it is a possibility that cannot be ignored. If the Anunnaki were real beings, what happened to them? The Sumerians believed that their gods would return one day, that the Anunnaki would descend from the heavens once again to guide humanity. A popular theory among fringe researchers is that the Anunnaki have never left, that they are still among us, perhaps hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. This theory is of course highly speculative, and there's no evidence to support it. Yet the idea that the Anunnaki are watching over humanity, or that they will one day return, continues to captivate the imaginations of those who believe in ancient astronaut theories. What if this is just another layer of the mystery, a riddle that has yet to be solved? The idea of the Anunnaki's return brings to mind another question. What was their true purpose on Earth? The Sumerians believed that the Anunnaki were here to guide humanity, to teach them the ways of civilization. But what if their motives were more complex? What if their presence on Earth was not just about imparting knowledge, but about shaping the future of humanity? Historians still argue whether the Anunnaki were benevolent gods who helped humanity achieve its potential, or whether they were more interested in controlling the course of human development. One interpretation suggests that the Anunnaki's true purpose was to create a society that could serve them, either as workers or as worshippers. Could the Sumerians have been manipulated by these powerful beings, unknowingly carrying out their will for thousands of years? This theory raises the question of whether the Anunnaki's influence on humanity was entirely benevolent, or whether they were using the Sumerians and possibly other civilizations as pawns in a much larger game. The idea that the Anunnaki had a hidden agenda, that their influence on humanity was part of a grander scheme, is a provocative one. It suggests that the history of Sumer and other ancient civilizations is not just a story of human progress, but a story of manipulation and control by beings who were far more powerful than the humans they encountered. As you ponder these ideas, the ruins of Sumer continue to stand as silent witnesses to a long-forgotten past. The city may have fallen, but the stories of the Anunnaki persist. Whether they were gods, extraterrestrials, or something else entirely, the impact of the Anunnaki on human history cannot be denied. Their teachings, their technology, and their influence on early civilizations have left an indelible mark on the course of humanity. The mystery of the Anunnaki may never be fully solved, but the clues are there, hidden in the ancient texts and the ruins of long-gone cities. And as you continue your journey through the past, you realize that the search for answers about the Anunnaki and about the origins of humanity may be one that never truly ends. As you wander through the sun-baked remains of Sumer, the air is thick with the weight of millennia. You are surrounded by remnants of a civilization that once thrived, its roads, temples, and homes, now nothing more than fractured memories of the past. Yet even amidst the ruins, a curious thought lingers in your mind. What if the Sumerians were not the true creators of their own story? What if instead, the key to their rapid advancement lies in the influence of beings from beyond their world? The more you delve into the artifacts and texts left behind by the Sumerians, the more you begin to wonder if the Anunnaki were not just mythological figures, but a genuine part of human history. Potentially even an alien presence that shaped the course of human civilization. Mainstream history paints the Sumerians as one of the earliest and most successful of ancient civilizations, responsible for creating writing systems, establishing legal codes, and developing agriculture on a large scale. What's broadly accepted is that their achievements laid the groundwork for future societies. Yet, a deeper question remains. How did such an early society manage to develop such complex systems in such a short amount of time? The mystery surrounding their rapid development has led many to wonder if the Sumerians' progress was influenced by the Anunnaki, whose knowledge of agriculture writing and the cosmos might have been far ahead of anything the Sumerians could have independently developed. Some suggest that the Anunnaki provided the Sumerians with the tools to build a sophisticated society, allowing them to leapfrog over other early civilizations. Could it be that the Sumerians didn't invent agriculture or writing on their own, but were taught by these otherworldly beings? It's possible that the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of biology and technology, imparted their knowledge to the Sumerians in a way that helped them master the land and develop complex social systems. In their texts, the Sumerians consistently describe the Anunnaki as wise and knowledgeable beings who provided them with the gifts of civilization. Could it be that the knowledge attributed to the Anunnaki was not divine wisdom, but a form of advanced technology passed down from beings who were far more advanced than the people of Sumer? If this is true, it could explain the Sumerians' sudden leap in technological and societal development. One interpretation is that the Sumerians didn't simply imagine their gods, but encountered beings who seemed to possess knowledge far beyond their understanding. What if these gods were not just supernatural beings, but technologically advanced visitors from another world? Could the Sumerians have perceived these visitors as gods because their technology and wisdom were indistinguishable from the divine in the eyes of people who had no knowledge of science or engineering? The evidence we have points to the Sumerians' rapid advancements in fields like agriculture, mathematics, and even medicine. Could the Anunnaki, with their superior knowledge, have played a key role in bringing these advancements to the Sumerians? The more you think about it, the more the story of the Anunnaki begins to shift in your mind. What if their purpose on Earth was not just to guide humanity, but to shape it? Some theories suggest that the Anunnaki were not benevolent gods, but beings with an agenda, a hidden purpose behind their interactions with humanity. Could they have manipulated early human societies to serve their own needs? Historians still argue whether the Anunnaki were gods in the traditional sense, or whether they were simply a higher form of intelligence, manipulating humanity for their own benefit. Could they have altered the course of human history by controlling the development of agriculture, writing, and religion? What if the Sumerians were not just the recipients of knowledge, but were also part of a larger experiment or plan orchestrated by the Anunnaki? Some fringe theories propose that the Sumerians were used as a labor force by these advanced beings, who may have engineered humanity to serve their needs. This theory raises profound questions about the true origins of humanity and the role of the Anunnaki in shaping our species. Could it be that the Sumerians, in their reverence for the Anunnaki, unknowingly carried out the will of beings from another world, perhaps even without realizing it? Could the rise of civilization as we know it have been orchestrated by these extraterrestrial visitors? The role of the Anunnaki in the Sumerian religion further complicates this mystery. In many ancient cultures, gods were seen as omnipotent beings who created the world and everything in it. But the Sumerians' relationship with the Anunnaki was different. The gods were not just distant celestial beings. They were tangible and interacted with humanity in a very real way. The Sumerians believed that the Anunnaki had come to Earth to help them build a civilization, providing them with the knowledge and tools they needed to succeed. But what if this relationship was not as benevolent as it seemed? Could the Anunnaki have used their advanced knowledge to manipulate the Sumerians into building a society that served their interests? Historians still argue whether the Sumerian gods were truly benevolent or whether they had a hidden agenda. Some scholars suggest that the Anunnaki were not gods at all, but simply highly advanced beings who saw humanity as a means to an end. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for this theory lies in the Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki's departure. According to these texts, the gods eventually left Earth, but promised to return one day. This promise of the Anunnaki's return has been interpreted by some as a sign that the gods were not truly gone, but were simply biding their time waiting for the right moment to return to Earth. Could the Anunnaki have left Earth because their mission was complete? Or was there another more mysterious reason for their departure? Could it be that their true purpose was to guide humanity for a brief period, then leave watching as human civilization continued to evolve on its own? Historians continue to debate the significance of the Anunnaki's departure. Some argue that their departure was simply part of the mythological cycle. The gods leave only to return at a later time. Others suggest that the Anunnaki's departure was more than symbolic, and that they had a specific plan for humanity's future that required them to step away. What if the Anunnaki were not just gods, but extraterrestrial beings who had come to Earth for a specific purpose? And what if that purpose was to observe and guide humanity's development, ultimately leaving us to continue on our own? As you stand among the ruins of Sumer, these questions swirl in your mind. The evidence, while intriguing, remains elusive, and the true nature of the Anunnaki continues to be a subject of debate. What if the story of the Anunnaki is not just a myth, but a hidden chapter of human history? What if the Sumerians' interactions with these beings shaped not only their civilization, but the course of human development as a whole? The answers may never be fully known, but as you walk through the ruins, the possibility lingers. Could the Anunnaki have been the true architects of civilization, guiding humanity toward the future, in ways we are only beginning to understand? As you continue through the ruins of Sumer, the city's fragmented monuments leave behind more questions than answers. The stones that once held the grandeur of a flourishing society are now weathered, yet they seem to speak in whispers of something far greater than mere human history. The Anunnaki figures of myth and legend are at the center of these musings. Their story is entangled with the rise of Sumer, but their true nature remains elusive. Could the Anunnaki have been more than just gods, perhaps visitors from a distant star, or even remnants of an ancient civilization whose knowledge guided humanity's earliest steps? The Sumerians, in their intricate mythology, spoke of the Anunnaki as powerful deities who governed the heavens and the earth. Their stories, passed down through generations, painted a picture of gods who not only created humanity, but also bestowed upon them the gifts of civilization, agriculture, writing, and law. What's broadly accepted is that the Sumerians did indeed believe their gods were responsible for their civilization's advancements. However, the precise nature of these gods remains a matter of debate. Some scholars suggest that the Anunnaki were divine beings with a supernatural connection to the cosmos, while others propose that these figures were in fact extraterrestrial visitors who provided the Sumerians with advanced knowledge. The question remains, were these beings truly gods, or were they something else entirely? If we treat the possibility of extraterrestrial visitors as more than just science fiction, it opens up a whole new realm of questions. The evidence from Sumerian texts points to the Anunnaki as having knowledge of astronomy and engineering that seems beyond the capabilities of an ancient society. The Sumerians were able to accurately chart the stars, track the movement of the planets, and even devise a calendar based on their observations. How could a society so early in human history develop such advanced astronomical knowledge? Could it be that the Anunnaki were responsible for this sudden leap in understanding? What if their guidance wasn't just limited to teaching the Sumerians about farming or writing, but also involved passing on their advanced knowledge of the stars, the cosmos, and perhaps even other realms of science? The Sumerians were not the only civilization with stories of gods descending from the heavens. Similar myths appear in cultures from Egypt to the Americas, all describing beings with extraordinary powers who came from the sky to teach humanity. Could these gods, so similar in their characteristics, have been the same beings? If we treat this as a possibility, it suggests that the Anunnaki, or beings like them, could have spread their influence across different regions of the world, shaping the course of human civilization in profound ways. The fact that these myths are widespread across cultures could indicate a shared source of influence, one that was more than just a coincidence. What if the Sumerians were not alone in their encounter with the Anunnaki? What if the Anunnaki had visited many ancient civilizations, offering their knowledge and shaping the path of humanity in ways we have only begun to understand? The idea that the Anunnaki may have influenced multiple ancient civilizations opens the door to a multitude of possibilities. Could the pyramids of Egypt, the ancient stone structures in South America, and even the megalithic sites in Europe be connected to the same beings who influenced the Sumerians? The similarities between these ancient structures are striking, particularly in their alignment with the stars and their astronomical significance. Could these structures have been built with the guidance of the Anunnaki, whose knowledge of celestial mechanics far surpassed that of any ancient civilization? If this theory holds any weight, it would suggest that the Anunnaki were not just mythological figures, but were actual participants in the shaping of ancient cultures. One of the more intriguing aspects of the Anunnaki's story is the concept of their eventual departure from Earth. According to Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki promised to return one day. What if this wasn't just a religious prophecy, but a reflection of something more tangible? Could the Anunnaki have left Earth for reasons beyond the Sumerians' understanding? Some fringe theories propose that the Anunnaki did not simply disappear, but retreated to another planet, waiting for the right moment to return. If this is true, it suggests that the Anunnaki may still be watching over humanity, waiting for a time when their return is needed. This idea, while speculative, raises the possibility that the Anunnaki's influence on Earth is far from over. What if their return is linked to a larger cosmic event, one that could once again change the course of human history? Historians still argue whether the Sumerians' belief in the Anunnaki's return was simply a religious concept born from their desire for divine intervention, or whether it had a more practical meaning. Some scholars suggest that the Sumerians believed the Anunnaki would return to restore order, protect humanity from disaster, or even lead them to a higher level of civilization. The idea of the Anunnaki's return has been popularized in modern times by those who believe in ancient astronaut theories. But the question remains, could there be any truth to this belief? Could the Sumerians in their myths and prophecies be hinting at a future event, one that involves the return of beings with advanced knowledge, perhaps even extraterrestrial visitors who will guide humanity into a new era? The possibility of the Anunnaki returning raises more questions than answers. Could their return be tied to a larger cosmic cycle, one that humanity has yet to fully understand? Some theories suggest that the Anunnaki's return could be linked to the alignment of certain celestial bodies, or to the completion of a grand cosmic plan that stretches across eons. What if their departure wasn't a simple exit, but part of a larger strategy to guide humanity toward a specific point in time? A time when we would be ready to receive their knowledge once again. Historians still argue whether these ideas are rooted in mythology or whether they represent a deeper hidden truth about the nature of the Anunnaki's influence on Earth. As you ponder the possibilities, the ruins of Sumer seem to hold their secrets close. The stones that once stood as towering ziggurats, the clay tablets that recorded the laws of the land, and the carvings that depicted the gods, all remain silent witnesses to a time when the Anunnaki were believed to walk the earth. The questions surrounding their true nature, whether they were gods, extraterrestrials, or advanced beings from a lost civilization, remain unanswered. But what if the answers lie hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered? The story of the Anunnaki is one that may never be fully understood, but it continues to captivate the imagination, offering tantalizing glimpses into a past that may have been far more extraordinary than we can imagine. As you move deeper into the ancient site, a sense of mystery continues to envelop you. The whispers of the past, carried by the wind, hint at secrets still hidden beneath the soil. The Sumerians, one of the world's first great civilizations, left behind vast remnants of their culture, from cuneiform tablets to elaborate temples, each bearing testimony to a society that may have been more connected to the stars than we ever thought possible. But as you trace their history, one question keeps resurfacing. Were the Sumerians truly the architects of their own civilization? Or did they receive help from beings whose knowledge was far ahead of their time? Mainstream history tells us that the Sumerians were responsible for many of the innovations that would shape future civilizations, writing law and urbanization. What's broadly accepted is that the Sumerians were the first to develop a complex society based on agriculture, and their influence on later civilizations is undeniable. However, the rapidity of their advancements raises an intriguing question. Could the Sumerians have had access to knowledge that was beyond their own capabilities? The theory that the Anunnaki beings described in Sumerian texts may have helped guide the Sumerians toward their technological and societal breakthroughs continues to captivate the imagination of many. The more you explore, the clearer it becomes that the Anunnaki were not just figures of mythology. In the Sumerian worldview, these beings were credited with bringing the gifts of civilization to humanity, agriculture, writing, even legal systems. Could these teachings have been part of a broader plan to develop and shape human societies in a way that benefited the Anunnaki? Or was their role more benevolent, designed solely to help humanity reach its potential? Historians still argue over the nature of the Anunnaki's influence, but there's no denying that their impact as perceived by the Sumerians was profound. The question remains Were these gods divine beings, advanced extraterrestrials, or perhaps something else entirely? The Sumerian myths paint a picture of the Anunnaki as both teachers and rulers. They were said to have descended from the heavens, imparting knowledge to humanity that would help establish civilization. Their knowledge was vast, covering everything from agriculture to mathematics, astronomy, and law. What if this knowledge was not divine, but the product of advanced technology and wisdom passed down from an extraterrestrial civilization? Could the Anunnaki have been the bearers of knowledge from a far-off world, sharing their expertise in a way that allowed early human societies to thrive? If this theory is true, it raises even more questions. What was their true motivation for helping the Sumerians? Were they simply sharing knowledge, or were they trying to shape humanity for their own purposes? One of the most striking aspects of the Sumerian story is the advanced level of technology they achieved. The Sumerians built cities with sophisticated infrastructure, including drainage systems, canals, and towering ziggurats. The fact that such an advanced society emerged in a relatively short period suggests that the Sumerians may have had help. What if the Anunnaki were the ones who helped design and build the infrastructure that allowed the Sumerians to flourish? Could the Anunnaki have shared their knowledge of engineering, architecture, and city planning, helping the Sumerians create cities that would serve as the heart of their civilization for centuries to come? The most iconic of the Sumerian structures, the ziggurats, are particularly interesting. These stepped pyramids dedicated to the gods were among the tallest buildings in the ancient world. What if the ziggurats were not just temples, but advanced structures designed for purposes beyond religious worship? Some fringe theories suggest that the ziggurats could have been energy harvesting devices built with the help of the Anunnaki, who had a far superior understanding of energy manipulation. Could the Anunnaki have used these massive structures for some kind of cosmic or energetic function, perhaps as a means of communicating with other civilizations, or even as tools for harnessing celestial energy? While there is no concrete evidence to support these ideas, the advanced architectural techniques required to build such structures suggest that the Sumerians may have received guidance from an outside source. In addition to their impressive infrastructure, the Sumerians were also known for their contributions to writing law and mathematics. The Sumerian system of writing cuneiform is one of the oldest known forms of written language. Could the Anunnaki have shared their knowledge of written communication with the Sumerians? The complexity of cuneiform suggests that the Sumerians were not the first to develop a written system, but that they were building on knowledge that had been passed down to them. This idea fits with the theory that the Anunnaki were responsible for introducing the Sumerians to writing, providing them with the tools needed to document their society's achievements and keep records for future generations. If the Anunnaki were indeed the source of this knowledge, it raises questions about the true origins of written language. Could it be that writing was not invented by the Sumerians, but was a gift from these otherworldly beings? The role of the Anunnaki in Sumerian lore is another area that continues to captivate researchers. The Sumerians are credited with creating one of the earliest known legal codes, the Code of Ur-Nammu, which predated the famous Code of Hammurabi by centuries. What if the Anunnaki were the ones who helped the Sumerians create their legal systems? Could these laws have been influenced by the Anunnaki's own advanced understanding of governance and society? The Sumerians, like many ancient civilizations, believed their gods were responsible for giving them laws that would guide their behavior and ensure the stability of their society. If the Anunnaki were indeed the source of these laws, it would suggest that the foundations of Sumerian society were built on principles that were far more sophisticated than we might expect for such an early civilization. As you continue to reflect on the mysteries of the Anunnaki, you begin to realize that their story is not just about ancient gods or extraterrestrials. It is a story about the origins of human civilization itself, and the question of how we came to be the way we are. The influence of the Anunnaki, if indeed they were responsible for shaping early human societies, could have far-reaching implications for our understanding of history. What if the Sumerians' rapid development was not simply the result of human ingenuity, but of contact with beings whose knowledge was so far advanced that it seemed divine? What if the Anunnaki were not gods, but beings who played a crucial role in shaping the course of human history, guiding us toward the civilization we know today? The mystery of the Anunnaki continues to intrigue and challenge historians, archaeologists, and those who study ancient civilizations. Their story is one of the most enduring and enigmatic in human history, and it raises more questions than it answers. Were they gods, aliens, or advanced beings from a lost civilization? The answer may never be fully understood, but the possibilities are endless. As you leave the ruins of Sumer behind, you can't help but wonder if the Anunnaki's influence still echoes in the world today, hidden in the places we least expect. The mysteries of the past are far from solved, but the search for answers continues, beckoning us to explore further. As you stand in the quiet remnants of Sumer, the sense of awe that you feel is hard to shake. The dust of time lingers in the air, and every crumbling wall and weathered tablet seems to tell a story, one of great civilization wisdom and mystery. The Sumerians who once inhabited this fertile land between the Tigris and Euphrates were among the first to build the framework of human society as we know it. From their early development of agriculture to the establishment of law and the creation of writing, their influence is undeniable. But as you study their ancient texts and observe the artifacts left behind, an unsettling thought creeps into your mind. What if their advancements were not entirely of their own making? Could the Anunnaki have been instrumental in shaping their society, offering their advanced knowledge in ways we are still trying to understand? Mainstream historians agree that the Sumerians were incredibly innovative for their time, developing one of the earliest forms of writing, establishing legal codes and advancing agriculture. The evidence suggests that the Sumerians were the first to bring together the many elements that made up a thriving civilization. Yet, what if the source of these innovations didn't come entirely from human ingenuity? What if instead the Sumerians' achievements were the result of knowledge imparted by beings from another world? The Anunnaki. Many scholars suggest that the rapid rise of Sumer's civilization could have been facilitated by some form of external intervention. Some believe that the Anunnaki were not simply gods in the traditional sense, but beings from another time or place, perhaps visitors from another star system. The evidence we do have from Sumerian texts such as the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Enuma Elish points to the Anunnaki as central figures in shaping human civilization. In these texts, the Anunnaki are credited with not only guiding humanity, but also with imparting crucial knowledge in areas like agriculture law and astronomy. Could it be that the Sumerians were not merely blessed with divine knowledge, but were instead receiving teachings from a more technologically advanced culture? The rapid development of Sumerian society poses another intriguing question. In a relatively short period of time, the Sumerians were able to make massive strides in agriculture, architecture, and governance. Their ability to master the art of irrigation and build large cities with advanced infrastructure is impressive, given their lack of the tools and resources we would associate with such achievements. What if the Anunnaki, with their superior knowledge, provided the Sumerians with the technology and skills needed to turn the fertile land of Mesopotamia into a thriving civilization? This could explain how they were able to develop advanced agricultural systems such as the canals and irrigation techniques that allowed them to flourish in what would otherwise be a harsh, arid environment. The idea that the Anunnaki played a significant role in this transformation raises the possibility that humanity's first steps towards civilization were guided by a much more advanced force. Another area in which the Anunnaki's influence might be seen is in the development of the Sumerian writing system cuneiform. The Sumerians were the first known civilization to develop writing, which allowed them to document everything from trade transactions to religious ceremonies. Historians still debate whether the Sumerians invented writing independently or whether they were taught by a higher power. One possibility is that the Anunnaki provided the Sumerians with the knowledge of written language either directly or indirectly. This would not be an entirely unprecedented idea. In the modern era, many societies have been influenced by others in the development of writing systems, and it's not outside the realm of possibility that the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of communication, could have shared their writing methods with the Sumerians. The idea that the Anunnaki were responsible for the creation of written language is particularly compelling when you consider the complexity of Sumerian cuneiform. Unlike many early forms of communication, cuneiform was highly sophisticated, incorporating symbols that represented both sounds and concepts. What if the Anunnaki, with their superior knowledge, provided the Sumerians with a writing system that was far more advanced than anything the early people could have developed on their own? If the Anunnaki did indeed help the Sumerians with the development of writing, it could have had profound implications for the growth of their society. Writing allowed for the recording of laws, the documentation of trade, and the preservation of history, all of which are essential to the functioning of a complex civilization. The Sumerians also created one of the earliest legal systems in human history. The Code of Ur-Nammu, which predates the more famous Code of Hammurabi, is one of the earliest examples of written law. What if the Anunnaki played a role in shaping these legal codes? Some scholars propose that the Anunnaki were not simply gods, but highly advanced beings who had a deep understanding of social order and governance. If they were indeed extraterrestrial or advanced in some way, they might have shared their knowledge of law with the Sumerians, helping to establish a fair and organized system for governing society. The idea that the Anunnaki might have played a role in creating the foundations of law raises further questions about their true nature. Were they divine beings, or were they visitors from a far-off place, with a profound understanding of how civilizations function? The influence of the Anunnaki extends beyond the practical aspects of Sumerian society. They were also credited with providing the Sumerians with profound knowledge of the heavens. The Sumerians were expert astronomers, tracking the movements of the planets and stars with great precision. They even created a lunar calendar based on their observations. Could this knowledge have been passed down from the Anunnaki? It's possible that the Sumerians' advanced understanding of the cosmos was a direct result of their interactions with the Anunnaki, who were described in Sumerian texts as coming from the heavens. What if the Anunnaki, with their advanced technology, taught the Sumerians how to read the stars and track celestial events, giving them an advantage over other civilizations? One of the most compelling aspects of the Anunnaki story is their eventual departure from Earth. According to Sumerian texts, the gods promised to return one day, but they disappeared from the world of men. What if their departure was not simply a mythological event, but part of a larger plan? Could the Anunnaki have left Earth for reasons beyond what the Sumerians understood, perhaps to return at a later time when humanity was ready to receive more knowledge? The idea that the Anunnaki may return to guide humanity once again is a popular theory, particularly among those who believe in the possibility of extraterrestrial life. If the Anunnaki did indeed leave, what might their return signify? Could it be that the true purpose of their visit was not just to guide early civilization, but to prepare humanity for an even greater leap forward in understanding? As you leave the ruins of Sumer behind, the questions continue to linger. The influence of the Anunnaki, whether real or mythological, has left a lasting imprint on human history. Their role in shaping the course of civilization is still a subject of debate, but the clues are there, hidden in plain sight. Could the Anunnaki have been the catalyst that sparked humanity's rise to civilization? The evidence, though speculative, suggests that their impact might have been far greater than we can imagine. Whether gods, extraterrestrials, or advanced beings from a distant civilization, the Anunnaki remain an enduring mystery in the story of human history. The sun sinks lower on the horizon, casting long shadows over the ruins of ancient Sumer. As you wander through the site, you feel a deeper connection to the past. The stones beneath your feet, the worn carvings on the walls, and the faint whispers carried by the wind seem to be holding something back, a story not yet fully understood. It is as though the Sumerians knew something that we are only beginning to grasp today. Their culture, their achievements, and their legends, particularly the ones surrounding the Anunnaki, still haunt the minds of scholars and curious minds alike. Could it be that the story of these ancient beings holds the key to unlocking the mysteries of human civilization? The Sumerians were among the first to record their history in writing, and what they left behind is a treasure trove of information about their culture and their gods. The Anunnaki were central to these stories. They were not just gods in the typical sense of the word, but figures of extraordinary power, wisdom, and influence. According to the Sumerians, these gods didn't just create humanity. They taught the people of Sumer how to build cities, farm the land, create laws, and understand the stars. But if we take a step back and consider the possibility that these beings were not divine, in the traditional sense, what does it mean for our understanding of human history? Could the Anunnaki have been extraterrestrial visitors, advanced beings from another star system who guided the Sumerians in their rise to civilization? Mainstream historians have long viewed the Sumerians as the creators of their own civilization. But the rapid advancements they made in such a short period of time raise questions. What if the Sumerians were not entirely responsible for their achievements? What if the knowledge they gained came from external sources? Beings whose understanding of agriculture, astronomy, and even law was far beyond anything the Sumerians could have developed on their own Most historians agree that the Sumerians were the first to create a complex society with organized city-states, writing systems, and a legal code. But could they have done it all on their own? Could the Anunnaki have played a crucial role in guiding these developments, bringing with them knowledge that was far beyond the capabilities of the Sumerians? The more you explore the ruins, the more it seems that the Sumerians were not just ordinary people of their time. They were extraordinary in their ability to construct monumental structures, create sophisticated systems of writing and law, and understand the movements of the stars with such accuracy. Could it be that they were helped along the way by the Anunnaki? These gods, as the Sumerians believed, came from the heavens and offered their knowledge to the people below. Some interpretations of the Sumerian texts suggest that the Anunnaki were far more than mere gods. They were beings from another world, possibly even extraterrestrial visitors who shared their wisdom with humanity. If we look at it from this perspective, it raises the question: what if the rapid development of Sumerian civilization was the result of outside influence, rather than human ingenuity alone? It's not just the Sumerians who have legends of sky gods descending from the heavens. Similar stories appear in ancient cultures around the world. The Egyptians, the Maya, and even the ancient cultures of the Americas have stories of gods or advanced beings who came from the stars to teach humanity. Could these stories all be based on the same beings, the Anunnaki? If we look at the similarities between the Sumerian gods and those of other ancient civilizations, it suggests that the Anunnaki, or beings like them, might have spread their knowledge across the globe, influencing different cultures in ways that we are just beginning to understand. The possibility that the Anunnaki were not confined to Sumer, but were a global influence, raises fascinating questions about the interconnectedness of ancient civilizations. As you ponder these ideas, you begin to wonder, what was the true purpose of the Anunnaki's visit to Earth? The Sumerians believed that the gods came to help them and build a great civilization. But was that their only purpose? Could the Anunnaki have had a hidden agenda, shaping humanity's future for reasons that we still don't fully understand? Some theories suggest that the Anunnaki were not benevolent gods at all, but advanced beings with their own interests in mind. Perhaps they used the Sumerians and other civilizations they encountered as tools to achieve their own ends. The idea that the Anunnaki's influence on early human civilization was not entirely selfless opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Were they helping humanity to grow, or were they shaping it to serve their own purposes? Could it be that humanity's development was part of a larger plan, one that was orchestrated by the Anunnaki for reasons unknown to us? The question of whether the Anunnaki were benevolent gods or manipulative beings with an agenda is one that historians still debate. What we do know is that the Sumerians held them in high regard, worshipping them as powerful figures who had a direct hand in shaping their society. The Sumerians also believed that the Anunnaki would one day return, bringing with them further knowledge and guidance. This idea of a divine return is a common theme in many ancient cultures, and it raises the question: could the Anunnaki ever return to Earth as the Sumerians believed? Could their knowledge lost to time still hold the key to humanity's future? What if the Sumerians were right? What if the Anunnaki are still out there, waiting for the right time to return? Some fringe theories suggest that the Anunnaki are not only extraterrestrial beings, but also beings who are still watching over humanity, perhaps even secretly guiding our progress. The idea that the Anunnaki are still present in some form is an enticing one, and while it remains speculative, it fits within the context of the myths and legends that the Sumerians left behind. If the Anunnaki were truly as advanced as the Sumerians believed, then perhaps their influence is not confined to the past, but continues to shape our world today in ways we cannot fully comprehend. As you walk through the ruins, the weight of this possibility settles in. The Sumerians may have been the first to build the foundations of civilization. But what if their success was not solely their own doing? Could the Anunnaki have been the catalyst for the rise of human civilization, offering knowledge and guidance that set the stage for everything that followed? The clues are scattered across the ancient world in the myths, the monuments and the texts left behind by the Sumerians and other early cultures. Whether the Anunnaki were gods extraterrestrials or something else entirely, one thing is clear: their influence on human history cannot be denied. The mystery of the Anunnaki remains unsolved, but the search for answers continues. And with each new discovery, we come closer to understanding the true role they played in shaping our world. As you journey through the remnants of Sumer, the question of the Anunnaki's true identity lingers in your mind. Were they truly gods as the Sumerians believed, or were they something far more extraordinary beings whose influence on humanity's development was far greater than we have come to understand? The Sumerians were one of the earliest civilizations to record their history, and the texts they left behind paint a picture of powerful godlike figures who bestowed knowledge upon humanity. These gods, the Anunnaki, are credited with teaching the Sumerians not just how to farm or build cities, but how to write, create laws, and understand the stars. As you stand amidst the ruins, the question grows more urgent. Could the Anunnaki have been more than just divine figures? Perhaps extraterrestrial visitors, or an advanced civilization from a forgotten era? Historians agree that the Sumerians were pioneers in developing the foundations of modern society, and their contributions to agriculture, law, and writing were revolutionary for their time. Most historians believe that the Sumerians independently invented these systems, drawing from their environment and experiences. However, the rapid rise of Sumer as a civilization raises intriguing questions. What if the Sumerians' extraordinary advancements were not entirely of their own making? Could the knowledge that led to their flourishing come from an outside source? Beings whose understanding of technology and society was far beyond what the Sumerians could have developed on their own. The theory that the Anunnaki beings of great wisdom and power may have influenced the rise of Sumerian civilization cannot be dismissed lightly. The Sumerians' rapid development in the fields of agriculture and architecture is one of the most striking aspects of their civilization. The use of irrigation to transform the land into fertile fields was a key factor in their success. What if the Anunnaki's influence played a role in this agricultural revolution? The Sumerians' understanding of irrigation and crop cultivation seems to have developed at an extraordinary rate, and it's possible that the Anunnaki shared their knowledge of farming techniques with them. The Anunnaki were described as being immensely knowledgeable about the land and the heavens, so it's plausible that their guidance in agricultural practices would have been a turning point for the Sumerians. What if their influence extended beyond basic farming to the development of more complex systems of land management, including crop rotation and the harnessing of water for irrigation on a grand scale? The evidence from Sumerian texts points to the Anunnaki as being directly involved in the advancement of early human civilization. But how much of this influence was a direct result of their presence? One interpretation suggests that the Anunnaki may have been more than just teachers. They could have been active participants in the creation of Sumerian society. What if their influence was not just limited to agriculture, but also extended to the building of cities and the establishment of complex systems of governance? The Sumerians were among the first to develop urban centers with intricate systems of governance. And it's possible that the Anunnaki provided the knowledge and organization necessary for these cities to thrive. The advanced architecture of the Sumerians, exemplified by their ziggurats and city layouts, raises the possibility that the Anunnaki played a role in the design and construction of these monumental structures. What if they shared advanced architectural techniques with the Sumerians, enabling them to build cities that were well organized and capable of supporting large populations? One of the most fascinating aspects of Sumerian civilization is their use of writing, particularly the development of cuneiform. The Sumerians are credited with creating one of the earliest systems of written language, which allowed them to record everything from trade transactions to religious rituals. But how did the Sumerians come up with such a sophisticated system of writing? The idea that the Anunnaki may have played a role in the creation of writing is an intriguing one. If the Anunnaki were indeed visitors with advanced knowledge, could they have shared their own systems of communication with the Sumerians, thereby jump-starting the development of written language? The precision and complexity of cuneiform suggest that it was not a simple invention, but a highly developed system that could have been inspired by outside knowledge. It's possible that the Sumerians were taught how to write by beings who had a far more advanced understanding of communication. In addition to writing, the Sumerians were also pioneers in the creation of legal systems. The Code of Ur-Nammu, which predates the famous Code of Hammurabi, is one of the earliest known examples of written law. What if the Anunnaki were the ones who taught the Sumerians about the importance of law and order? The Anunnaki, with their supposed wisdom and organization, may have recognized the need for a structured society and helped the Sumerians establish laws to govern their behavior. The fact that the Sumerians were among the first to create a formal legal system suggests that they were guided by more than just their own instincts. What if the Anunnaki provided the framework for Sumerian law, helping them develop a system that would be a model for future civilizations? Beyond the practical aspects of Sumerian society, the Anunnaki were also credited with teaching the Sumerians about the cosmos. The Sumerians were skilled astronomers with a deep understanding of the stars and planets. What if their knowledge of the heavens came from the Anunnaki, who were described as coming from the stars themselves? The Sumerians were able to track the movements of celestial bodies with great precision, and they even developed a calendar based on the lunar cycle. Some fringe theories suggest that the Anunnaki's understanding of the stars was not just theoretical, but based on their own experiences with space travel. If the Anunnaki had traveled from distant star systems, they would have had an intimate knowledge of the cosmos that the Sumerians could have never discovered on their own. What if the Sumerians were taught how to read the stars by beings who had traveled across the universe? The question of why the Anunnaki left Earth is one of the most intriguing aspects of their story. According to Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki promised to return one day. What if their departure wasn't permanent? Could it be that the Anunnaki's mission was not yet complete, and that they left Earth to return when humanity had reached a certain level of development? And some theorists suggest that the Anunnaki, are still waiting for the right moment to return, perhaps to guide humanity toward a new phase of civilization. If this is true, what would their return signify for the future of humanity? Would the Anunnaki offer us more knowledge, or would their return be a catalyst for some larger cosmic event? As you stand in the quiet ruins, the weight of these questions becomes even more palpable. The Sumerians' achievements were remarkable for their time, but could they have been the result of guidance from the Anunnaki? Whether the Anunnaki were gods, extraterrestrials, or advanced beings from an ancient civilization, their influence on the course of human history is undeniable. The question of whether they were truly divine or simply visitors from another world remains a mystery, but the possibility that they shaped the foundations of human civilization is a tantalizing one. As you walk away from the ruins, the story of the Anunnaki lingers in your mind, and you realize that the mystery of their influence may be one that remains unsolved for generations to come. As the remnants of ancient Sumer stretch out before you, the sense of discovery deepens with every step you take. The stones beneath your feet, the ruins that tell of a once thriving civilization, and the silent structures that rise from the earth carry with them stories that are still waiting to be understood. In the midst of this profound history, the influence of the Anunnaki continues to be a mystery that both fascinates and baffles. What if the Anunnaki were not simply divine beings, but a catalyst in the rise of civilization, guiding the Sumerians in ways that transcended our conventional understanding of history? The Sumerians, like many ancient cultures, held deep reverence for their gods, but the Anunnaki were more than mere deities in the traditional sense. They were seen as powerful, wise, and capable of influencing the very fabric of human society. Most historians agree that the Sumerians believed the Anunnaki were directly responsible for their advancements from agriculture and architecture to writing and law. What's broadly accepted is that the Sumerians were at the forefront of early human civilization. Yet the question remains, how did they develop such complex systems in such a short period? Could it be that the Sumerians were not entirely self-sufficient, and that the Anunnaki played a critical role in jump-starting the early stages of human civilization? One of the most intriguing aspects of Sumerian culture is their mastery over agriculture. The Sumerians were able to harness the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, creating a system of irrigation that transformed the region into a thriving agricultural hub. What if this knowledge was not entirely their own? Could the Anunnaki have shared their advanced understanding of farming and irrigation techniques with the Sumerians, enabling them to cultivate the land in ways that no other civilization had done before? This idea is supported by the rapid development of Sumerian society. In a short span of time, the Sumerians were able to build complex cities, create sophisticated trade systems, and achieve feats of engineering that would have been unimaginable without external assistance. If the Anunnaki provided this assistance, it could explain the sudden and dramatic leap forward in Sumerian civilization. The Sumerians' ability to construct monumental structures further raises the question of the Anunnaki's role in their society. The ziggurats' towering step pyramids, dedicated to the gods, are among the most recognizable symbols of Sumerian architecture. What if these impressive structures were more than just religious temples? Could they have served another more practical purpose, perhaps tied to the Anunnaki's advanced technology? Some theories propose that the ziggurats were not simply places of worship, but were designed to harness energy, serve as astronomical observatories, or even as communication devices. Could the Anunnaki have shared their knowledge of engineering and energy manipulation with the Sumerians, guiding them in the construction of these towering monuments? The possibility that the ziggurats were more than mere temples suggests that the Anunnaki's influence on Sumerian architecture was far deeper than previously imagined. In addition to their agricultural and architectural achievements, the Sumerians are credited with creating one of the earliest systems of writing cuneiform. This system of writing, which began as a method of recording trade transactions, eventually expanded to include literature law and religious texts. What if the Anunnaki played a role in the development of this writing system? Some theories suggest that the Sumerians' ability to develop such a sophisticated form of communication was influenced by external sources. Could the Anunnaki, with their advanced knowledge, have provided the Sumerians with the tools necessary to develop a written language? If this is the case, the Sumerian system of writing would not have been entirely their own creation, but the result of an exchange of knowledge between humanity and the Anunnaki. The role of the Anunnaki in the development of Sumerian law is also a point of intrigue. The Code of Ur-Nammu, one of the earliest known legal codes, predated the famous Code of Hammurabi by centuries. What if the Anunnaki were involved in shaping these early legal systems? The Sumerians, like many ancient civilizations, believed their gods were responsible for guiding them in all aspects of life, including law and governance. The Anunnaki, with their wisdom and organizational skills, may have played a crucial role in helping the Sumerians establish their first legal codes. Could the Anunnaki have shared their knowledge of governance and justice with the Sumerians, helping them create a system of laws that would provide structure and stability to their growing civilization? Beyond the practical contributions of the Anunnaki, their influence also extended to the Sumerians' understanding of the cosmos. The Sumerians were among the first to study the stars and planets in depth, and their knowledge of astronomy was far more advanced than we would expect for such an ancient society. What if the Anunnaki were responsible for this astronomical knowledge? Some theories propose that the Anunnaki were not just gods of the earth, but were visitors from the stars, possessing knowledge of the cosmos that they passed on to the Sumerians. The idea that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings who shared their understanding of the universe with the Sumerians raises questions about the origins of early astronomy. Could the Sumerians have learned to track the movements of the planets and stars with such precision without external guidance? The possibility that the Anunnaki were the source of this knowledge suggests that their influence extended beyond the Earth and into the stars. As you reflect on the potential role of the Anunnaki in shaping Sumerian civilization, the question of their departure looms large. According to Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki eventually left the Earth, promising to return one day. What if this departure was not just a myth, but a signal of their eventual return? Some theories suggest that the Anunnaki did not simply disappear, but withdrew from humanity for a time, awaiting the right moment to return. If the Anunnaki were truly extraterrestrial visitors, their return could signify a turning point in human history. What would it mean for humanity if the Anunnaki were to return? Would they provide humanity with more knowledge, or would their presence serve as a reminder of our place in a larger cosmic order? The idea that the Anunnaki might return one day offers a tantalizing possibility, one that continues to captivate the imagination of those who study ancient civilizations. As you leave the ruins behind, the mystery of the Anunnaki continues to linger in your mind. Their influence on Sumerian civilization whether divine extraterrestrial or something in between, is undeniable. The questions surrounding their true nature remain unanswered, but the evidence suggests that their impact on early human history was far greater than we have realized. The Anunnaki may have been more than just gods. They may have been the catalyst for the rise of human civilization itself. As the search for answers continues, one thing is clear. The story of the Anunnaki is one that is far from finished. Their influence on humanity may still be unfolding, and the secrets they left behind may one day be revealed in ways we cannot yet imagine. As you stand in the remnants of ancient Sumer, a quiet sense of awe sweeps over you. The ruins, though weathered by time, seem to hold secrets buried deep within their walls. The once great city of Ur, with its grand ziggurats and intricate canals, speaks of a civilization that reached heights far beyond what one might expect for its time. What truly stands out as you walk through the city's crumbled remains is how the Anunnaki, as described in the Sumerian texts, played such an integral role in shaping this ancient civilization. These beings, often regarded as gods, were credited with providing humanity the tools to build cities, create laws, and understand the natural world. But what if they were not gods in the conventional sense? What if they were visitors, sentient beings from another world, whose influence on Sumer and beyond changed the course of human history? Most historians accept that the Sumerians were among the first to develop advanced systems of governance, law, writing, and agriculture. The rapid progress of Sumerian civilization is undeniable. However, the extraordinary speed with which the Sumerians achieved such advancements raises questions. Could the Sumerians have developed these systems entirely on their own? Or was there external assistance, perhaps from the Anunnaki, who are believed to have had profound knowledge of the universe? This question of external influence challenges the traditional narrative of human development and points to the possibility that the Sumerians were part of a much larger and more complex story, one where extraterrestrial beings may have shaped the foundations of human civilization. The Sumerians were exceptional in their agricultural prowess, transforming the fertile land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers into one of the most productive regions of the ancient world. This agricultural revolution, particularly their advanced systems of irrigation, allowed the Sumerians to build a highly organized society capable of supporting large populations. What if this breakthrough was not a product of human trial and error, but rather knowledge passed down by the Anunnaki? Given the advanced nature of the irrigation techniques employed by the Sumerians, it is possible that the Anunnaki, with their superior understanding of agriculture and water management, imparted their knowledge to the Sumerians. The fact that the Sumerians were able to create such an effective system of irrigation so early in their development raises the possibility that they were guided by beings with an advanced understanding of the land and how to make it thrive. The influence of the Anunnaki may not have been confined to agriculture alone. The Sumerians were also the first to develop writing, a critical advancement that allowed them to record history, conduct trade, and create laws. Cuneiform, the Sumerian writing system, evolved over time, starting as simple pictographs used for record keeping and eventually developing into a complex system of symbols and characters. What if this writing system was not solely the result of Sumerian ingenuity, but was influenced by the Anunnaki? It's possible that the Anunnaki, with their advanced knowledge of communication, shared their writing techniques with the Sumerians. If the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings with an advanced culture, their methods of communication may have been far beyond anything the Sumerians could have created on their own. The development of writing in Sumer was a significant leap for humanity, and if the Anunnaki played a role in that development, it would suggest that their influence reached far beyond simple religious worship and extended into the very foundations of society. In addition to their contributions to agriculture and writing, the Sumerians were pioneers in the establishment of laws. The Code of Ur-Nammu, one of the earliest known legal codes, predated the more famous Code of Hammurabi. What if the creation of these laws was inspired or influenced by the Anunnaki? The Sumerians, like many ancient cultures, saw their gods as the ultimate source of wisdom and justice. What if the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of governance, provided the Sumerians with the tools necessary to establish laws that would help maintain order in their growing society? Given the Anunnaki's significant influence on the development of other aspects of Sumerian life, it's possible that they played a role in shaping the legal systems that governed the people of Sumer. The role of the Anunnaki in Sumerian astronomy is another area where their influence is evident. The Sumerians had an extraordinary understanding of the stars, the planets, and the movement of celestial bodies. They were able to create calendars based on lunar and solar cycles, track the movements of the planets, and use this knowledge to guide their agricultural practices. Some fringe theories suggest that the Anunnaki were not just observers of the stars, but may have had first-hand knowledge of space travel. Could they have been visitors from another star system whose advanced understanding of the cosmos was shared with the Sumerians? The Sumerians' ability to accurately track the movements of celestial bodies raises the possibility that the Anunnaki, with their superior knowledge, may have taught the Sumerians to observe and interpret the stars in a way that was far beyond what other ancient cultures were capable of at the time. The most compelling part of the Anunnaki's story lies in their eventual departure from Earth. According to Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki promised to return one day. What if this departure was not simply a mythological event, but part of a larger plan? The idea that the Anunnaki might return to Earth has captured the imagination of many, especially those who believe in the possibility of extraterrestrial influence on humanity. Could the Anunnaki have left Earth temporarily, perhaps because their mission was complete? And are they now waiting for humanity to reach a certain level of development before they return? Some believe that the Anunnaki may have left behind clues to their return in the form of ancient prophecies or coded messages in the Sumerian texts. If this theory holds any weight, it suggests that the Anunnaki were not merely distant gods, but beings who played a significant role in guiding humanity's development, and their return could have profound implications for the future of human civilization. As you walk through the ruins, the weight of these questions grows heavier. Could the Anunnaki have been extraterrestrial visitors, sentient beings who shared their knowledge and guided humanity on its path to civilization? The evidence, though speculative, suggests that the Sumerians' rapid development may not have been the result of human ingenuity alone. The role of the Anunnaki in shaping the early stages of human civilization is a mystery that continues to captivate those who study the past. The question remains, were the Anunnaki divine beings, advanced extraterrestrial visitors, or something else entirely? Whatever the answer may be, their legacy is evident in the foundations of human civilization, and the mysteries surrounding them continue to inspire new generations of thinkers, explorers, and seekers of truth. As the sun sets behind the ancient ruins of Sumer, casting long shadows over the remains of once grand structures, you can't help but feel the weight of history around you. The legacy of the Sumerians is undeniable. But as you study the remnants of their society, questions continue to swirl. The Anunnaki central figures in the Sumerian mythos seem to have played an important role in shaping their civilization. Were these beings gods extraterrestrials, or perhaps something in between? Their impact on Sumerian culture is still felt, even if the precise nature of their influence remains elusive. The more you dig into their story, the clearer it becomes. The Anunnaki were not just a distant myth. They were key players in the unfolding of humanity's early chapters. Mainstream historians agree that the Sumerians were at the forefront of many human achievements. They developed the first known system of writing, established a complex legal system, and created some of the most advanced agricultural practices of their time. These accomplishments are often attributed to human ingenuity, but the question of how the Sumerians made such rapid progress remains. What if the Anunnaki beings with knowledge far beyond what the Sumerians could have developed on their own played a role in this leap forward? Could the Sumerians have received guidance from these figures? Figures they viewed as gods who imparted knowledge on agriculture, writing, and governance. The development of Sumerian agriculture is one of the key aspects of their civilization that raises questions. The Sumerians were able to harness the power of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, using them to irrigate the land and cultivate crops. This agricultural revolution was the backbone of their society, enabling them to grow surplus food and establish thriving cities. What if this knowledge wasn't entirely their own? Could the Anunnaki have shared advanced agricultural techniques with the Sumerians, helping them transform the land into a fertile paradise? The rapid development of their agricultural systems suggests that external knowledge could have been at play. What if the Anunnaki helped the Sumerians unlock the secrets of irrigation, crop rotation, and soil fertility knowledge that far exceeded what any ancient culture could have developed on its own? The Sumerians' mastery of agriculture is closely linked to their ability to build cities. As they learned to harness the land, they established urban centers that became the heart of Sumerian life. The city of Ur, for example, was a thriving metropolis with advanced infrastructure, including roads, drainage systems, and large monumental buildings. The scale of Sumerian urbanization seems extraordinary for such an early civilization. What if the Anunnaki were instrumental in this process? Could they have shared architectural and engineering knowledge with the Sumerians, helping them design and construct the monumental ziggurats and other impressive structures? The sheer size and complexity of these buildings suggest that the Sumerians had access to knowledge that was far beyond what would be expected of a society at their stage of development. The Sumerians were also the first known civilization to develop a system of writing cuneiform. This writing system, which began as a method of keeping records for trade, quickly evolved into a complex form of communication used for literature, law, and religion. What if the Anunnaki had a hand in the development of this writing system? The Sumerians believed their gods communicated with them through these written symbols. Could the Anunnaki have shared their own system of writing with the Sumerians, allowing them to document their society's achievements and history? Given the Anunnaki's supposed mastery of many fields, it's possible that they imparted the knowledge necessary for the Sumerians to develop writing. This idea is supported by the fact that writing emerged suddenly in Sumer without any prior history of such systems. Could the Anunnaki's influence have been the catalyst for this leap in communication? One of the most significant contributions of the Sumerians, and one that still resonates in modern society is their legal system. The Code of Ur-Nammu, which predates the Code of Hammurabi, is one of the earliest known sets of laws. These laws governed everything from family relationships to property rights and established a system of justice in Sumerian society. What if the Anunnaki, with their advanced knowledge of governance and social order, helped the Sumerians develop their legal systems? The idea that the Anunnaki had a hand in creating the laws that governed early civilization suggests that their role in shaping human society was far more profound than previously thought. Could it be that the Anunnaki, with their far superior understanding of society and order, played a key role in establishing the first known legal codes? The Sumerians also possessed an extraordinary understanding of astronomy. They were able to track the movement of celestial bodies with great precision, using this knowledge to guide their agricultural practices and religious ceremonies. What if the Anunnaki, with their advanced knowledge of the cosmos, shared their understanding of the stars with the Sumerians? The Sumerians believed that the gods came from the heavens, and that their knowledge of the stars was a gift from these celestial beings. Could the Anunnaki have taught the Sumerians how to chart? The stars calculate the movements of the planets and create a calendar based on their observations. The sophistication of Sumerian astronomy suggests that the Anunnaki's influence in this area was significant. If the Anunnaki were indeed extraterrestrial beings, it would make sense that their knowledge of the cosmos would be far beyond that of the Sumerians, whose astronomical practices were far ahead of their time. Perhaps the most intriguing question about the Anunnaki is what happened to them. According to Sumerian texts, the gods eventually left the earth, but promised to return. What if this departure was not just a mythological event, but a reflection of their true nature? Could the Anunnaki have left Earth for reasons that we are not yet capable of understanding? Some theories suggest that the Anunnaki did not simply disappear, but retreated to another planet or dimension, awaiting the right moment to return. Could their eventual return signal a new chapter in humanity's history, one where their influence will once again shape the course of human civilization? This idea, though speculative, raises intriguing questions about the relationship between humanity and the Anunnaki. What if the Sumerians were not just waiting for the return of gods, but for the return of beings who had a much more profound and direct influence on their civilization? As you stand in the ruins, the questions continue to linger. The Sumerians, with their advanced understanding of agriculture, writing, law, and astronomy, may have been the product of more than just human ingenuity. The possibility that the Anunnaki played a central role in the development of their society is one that cannot be easily dismissed. Were the Anunnaki gods extraterrestrials, or something else entirely? Could they have been the guiding force behind the rise of one of the world's first great civilizations? The mystery of the Anunnaki remains unsolved, but the evidence suggests that their influence on the course of human history is undeniable. As you leave the ancient city behind, the search for answers continues. The legacy of the Anunnaki, whether divine or extraterrestrial, continues to shape the way we understand our own origins. As the sun sinks behind the distant horizon, casting long, golden shadows across the ruins of Sumer, the weight of ancient history feels even heavier. These ruins, despite the ravages of time, continue to stand as silent witnesses to a civilization that at its peak laid the foundation for so many aspects of modern society. the more you look at the remnants of this once great civilization, the more it becomes clear the story of Sumer is not just the story of human advancement. It is the story of the Anunnaki and their profound influence on humanity's development. Were they gods as the Sumerians believed, or something else entirely? If they were more than myth, what kind of beings were the Anunnaki, and what role did they truly play in the rise of early civilization? Mainstream historians often credit the Sumerians with developing the first systems of writing law and agriculture. The Sumerians are considered one of the first great civilizations to establish cities and organize their society through structured governance. What's widely accepted is that these innovations came from human ingenuity driven by the Sumerians' need to manage their growing society. However, the rapid and unexpected growth of Sumer raises questions. Could such a leap forward in knowledge and organization have occurred without external influence? Some suggest that the Anunnaki described by the Sumerians as divine figures may have been more than just gods. They could have been visitors from another world, guiding the Sumerians as they made their monumental leap into advanced civilization. Could the knowledge they imparted to the Sumerians truly have been that extraordinary? The Sumerians' agricultural advancements are often cited as one of the main reasons for their early success. They developed complex irrigation systems that turned the arid land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers into lush, fertile fields. This allowed them to grow enough food to sustain large urban populations, enabling the rise of cities and the creation of a highly organized society. But what if the knowledge to build such complex irrigation systems didn't come from the Sumerians themselves? What if the Anunnaki, with their greater knowledge of agriculture and resource management, played a pivotal role in helping them cultivate the land? The rapid advancement of Sumerian agricultural techniques seems to point to an outside influence. If the Anunnaki were indeed responsible for imparting this knowledge, it would explain how the Sumerians were able to develop an advanced agricultural system at such an early stage in human history. In addition to their agricultural knowledge, the Sumerians also developed one of the earliest forms of writing. Cuneiform, their system of writing, was initially used for record keeping, but eventually expanded to include everything from religious texts to poetry. This written language allowed the Sumerians to document their history, their laws, and their beliefs, preserving their culture for future generations. But how did the Sumerians develop such a sophisticated system of writing so early? Could the Anunnaki have played a role in this development? Perhaps the Sumerians were taught how to communicate using a writing system that was far more advanced than what they could have come up with on their own. If the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings, their own system of writing could have been far beyond the comprehension of the Sumerians, who may have adapted it to suit their needs. The idea that the Anunnaki introduced writing to the Sumerians raises profound questions about the true origins of written language and its place in the development of civilization. Another aspect of Sumerian society that may have been influenced by the Anunnaki is their legal system. The Code of Ur-Nammu, created by the Sumerian king of the same name, is one of the oldest known legal codes in human history. It established laws governing everything from marriage and property rights to punishments for crimes. What if this legal system was not entirely the creation of the Sumerians, but was instead inspired by the Anunnaki? The Sumerians, like many ancient cultures, believed that their gods were the ultimate source of wisdom and justice. If the Anunnaki were beings of extraordinary knowledge and experience, it is conceivable that they could have helped the Sumerians create a legal system based on principles that were far ahead of their time. The idea that the Anunnaki played a role in the development of Sumerian law raises the possibility that these beings, Baongs, were more than just religious figures. They may have been instrumental in shaping the very structure of Sumerian society. The Sumerians were also highly skilled in astronomy, tracking the movements of the stars and planets with remarkable precision. They created a calendar based on the lunar cycle, which helped them time their agricultural activities and religious festivals. But how did they develop such an advanced understanding of the cosmos? Could the Anunnaki have shared their astronomical knowledge with the Sumerians? If the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings, they would have had access to technologies and knowledge of the stars that far surpassed anything the Sumerians could have developed on their own. It is possible that the Sumerians' ability to observe and understand the cosmos came from the teachings of the Anunnaki, who may have had first-hand experience with the stars and planets. This connection between the Sumerians and the Anunnaki could have been more than just mythological. It could have been rooted in an actual exchange of knowledge between humanity and beings from beyond the earth. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the Anunnaki's story is their eventual departure from Earth. According to Sumerian texts, the gods did not remain on Earth forever. They left, but they promised to return one day. This concept of divine return is a common theme in many ancient cultures. The idea that the Anunnaki will one day come back to Earth raises profound questions. What if their departure wasn't just a symbolic event, but an actual withdrawal from the planet, with the promise of a return when humanity is ready? Some fringe theories suggest that the Anunnaki left for another planet or dimension, waiting for the right time to return and complete their mission on Earth. What if the Anunnaki's influence is not yet finished, and their return could bring about a new chapter in human history? As you reflect on the mysteries of the Anunnaki, you can't help but wonder about their true nature. Were they gods as the Sumerians believed, or were they something else entirely? Beings from another world who helped shape the course of human civilization. The evidence, though speculative, suggests that the Anunnaki played a key role in the development of Sumerian society. Whether they were divine beings, extraterrestrials, or something in between, their influence on humanity is undeniable. What if their teachings and guidance helped lay the groundwork for the civilizations that followed, shaping the course of human history in ways we are only beginning to understand? The mystery of the Anunnaki continues to captivate researchers and enthusiasts alike. Were they the gods that the Sumerians believed them to be? Or were they visitors from another star system who imparted their knowledge to an early civilization? The story of the Anunnaki is one that is far from finished. The clues left behind in the Sumerian texts, the monumental structures, and the advanced knowledge the Sumerians possessed all suggest that the influence of the Anunnaki was far-reaching and profound. The true nature of the Anunnaki may never be fully understood, but their legacy endures, leaving behind a mystery that continues to fascinate and inspire. As you look out across the expanse of ancient Sumer, the ruins of a once great civilization stand in silent testimony to the human ingenuity that built them. Yet, in the shadows of these ancient structures, questions linger. Could the Sumerians, with all their remarkable achievements, have been guided by forces beyond their understanding? The story of the Anunnaki, as told by the Sumerians, continues to captivate the imagination. These beings, who were considered gods, were credited with helping humanity take its first steps toward civilization. But were they truly divine, or could they have been visitors from another world influencing the course of human history in ways that still echo through the ages? What's broadly accepted by historians is that the Sumerians were one of the first civilizations to develop complex systems of writing law and governance. They built cities, established trade networks, and mastered agriculture. However, the question remains, how did a relatively small, early civilization make such extraordinary advancements? Could the Sumerians have done all of this on their own? Or was there external influence, perhaps, from the Anunnaki, shaping the course of their development? One of the most remarkable aspects of Sumerian civilization is its rapid advancement in agriculture. The Sumerians were able to transform the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, turning a barren landscape into a fertile region capable of sustaining large populations. This agricultural revolution allowed them to create one of the most prosperous civilizations of the ancient world. But could the Sumerians have developed their advanced irrigation techniques independently, or could they have received help from the Anunnaki? If the Anunnaki were indeed beings from another world, their knowledge of agriculture, soil management, and resource distribution could have far exceeded anything the Sumerians could have developed on their own. It's possible that the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of the natural world, shared their knowledge with the Sumerians, helping them build the infrastructure that would support the rise of their civilization. The Sumerians were not just farmers. They were also builders, creating some of the most impressive structures of their time. Ziggurats' monumental step pyramids dedicated to the gods rise from the ground like giants. Their remnants a testament to the architectural prowess of the Sumerians. But could such advanced structures have been built by the Sumerians alone? What if the Anunnaki, with their superior knowledge of engineering and construction, helped guide the design and construction of these monumental structures? The complexity of the ziggurats suggests that they were not merely religious temples, but may have served a higher, more technical purpose. Could they have been part of a larger system, perhaps tied to energy production, astronomical observation, or even communication with other worlds? Some fringe theories propose that the ziggurats were not just places of worship, but advanced machines built to harness cosmic energy or transmit signals across vast distances. If the Anunnaki were behind the creation of these structures, it would suggest that they were far more than just gods. They may have been advanced beings with a deep understanding of both the natural and cosmic worlds. In addition to their architectural feats, the Sumerians were also pioneers in the development of writing. Cuneiform, one of the earliest known systems of writing, allowed the Sumerians to document their society's laws, literature, and transactions. Writing allowed the Sumerians to record their history, create legal codes, and establish a system of communication that would endure for thousands of years. What if the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of language and communication, played a role in the creation of cuneiform? The Sumerians' sudden leap in literacy and record-keeping suggests that their writing system may have been influenced by beings with far superior knowledge of language and symbols. It's possible that the Anunnaki shared their own form of writing with the Sumerians, who adapted it to suit their needs. This would explain how the Sumerians, with relatively little time for trial and error, were able to create such a sophisticated system of writing. The idea that the Anunnaki were involved in the development of writing raises profound questions about the origins of written language and its connection to early human civilization. The Sumerians' legal system is another area in which the Anunnaki's influence may be felt. The Code of Ur-Nammu, one of the earliest known sets of laws, established the groundwork for later legal systems, including the famous Code of Hammurabi. The Sumerians believed that their gods were the ultimate source of wisdom and justice, and they looked to them for guidance in creating their laws. Could the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of social order, have shared their knowledge of law and governance with the Sumerians? If the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial visitors with superior knowledge of society and human behavior, they could have helped the Sumerians create a legal system based on principles that were far ahead of their time. The rapid development of Sumerian law suggests that the Sumerians may not have come up with these ideas on their own, but rather received guidance from a higher source. If the Anunnaki played a role in the development of law, it would indicate that their influence on Sumerian society was far more than just religious. It was practical and foundational. The Sumerians' understanding of the cosmos also points to the possibility that the Anunnaki played a role in their development. The Sumerians were skilled astronomers, able to track the movements of celestial bodies with remarkable accuracy. They created a lunar calendar, tracked the movements of the planets, and used their knowledge of the stars to guide their agricultural practices. How did they gain such sophisticated knowledge of the stars? Some believe that the Sumerians' understanding of astronomy was far ahead of its time and could have been passed down by the Anunnaki. The idea that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings with first-hand knowledge of the stars and planets raises the possibility that they shared this knowledge with the Sumerians, teaching them how to navigate the heavens. The Sumerians' advanced understanding of astronomy may have been the result of their contact with these beings, who could have provided them with a map of the cosmos. Perhaps the most enigmatic part of the Anunnaki story is their departure. According to Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki eventually left Earth, but they promised to return one day. What if their departure wasn't simply a myth, but a reflection of a larger cosmic plan? Some theories propose that the Anunnaki left Earth because their mission was complete, and that they are now waiting for the right moment to return. If the Anunnaki were indeed extraterrestrial beings, it is possible that their departure was part of a larger cycle, one that would see them return when humanity has reached a certain level of development. This idea that the Anunnaki will one day return raises exciting possibilities for the future of humanity. What would their return mean? Would they offer further guidance or help? Humanity advance even further, or would their return signal the beginning of a new chapter in our history? As you stand in the ruins, the mysteries of the Anunnaki linger in your mind. Were they truly gods, as the Sumerians believed, or were they extraterrestrial beings, whose influence on humanity was far more profound than we can imagine? Could the Anunnaki have been the guiding force behind the rise of one of the world's first great civilizations? The evidence, though speculative, suggests that their role in the development of Sumerian society was far-reaching and impactful. The legacy of the Anunnaki, whether divine extraterrestrial or something else entirely, is still present in the stories, myths, and achievements of the Sumerians. As you leave the ancient site behind, the search for answers continues. The mysteries of the past may never be fully solved, but the story of the Anunnaki remains an important chapter in the long, intricate tale of human history. As you stand in the shadow of the ancient ruins, the sense of history is almost palpable. The remnants of the Sumerian civilization stretch before you, their once grand ziggurats and temples now reduced to broken stones and faded carvings. But the story of Sumer is far from finished. The question of the Anunnaki and their role in shaping early human civilization continues to captivate minds and spark imaginations across the world. Were the Anunnaki truly gods as the Sumerians believed, or were they something else, beings from another world whose influence on humanity's rise is far more profound than we've realized? The Sumerians were among the first to establish the foundations of modern civilization. They developed agriculture, created complex legal systems, and even gave birth to one of the earliest forms of writing. Their contributions to the world are undeniable, and what's widely accepted is that they were responsible for many of the systems we use today. However, the question remains, how did the Sumerians come to make such monumental leaps in a relatively short amount of time? Could it be that their rapid progress was the result of assistance from external forces, the Anunnaki, who were often depicted as guiding the Sumerians with divine wisdom? Most historians agree that the Sumerians were incredible innovators. Their knowledge of agriculture, for example, allowed them to cultivate the fertile land of Mesopotamia, transforming it into a hub of productivity and civilization. The Sumerians' ability to create intricate irrigation systems, harnessing the power of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers to flood their fields, speaks to their ingenuity. But what if this breakthrough wasn't entirely of their own making? Could the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of agriculture, have taught the Sumerians how to master the land and develop these complex systems? If the Anunnaki were indeed extraterrestrial beings, their knowledge of Earth's ecosystems and resource management could have been far beyond what the Sumerians could have developed independently. The advancement in agriculture is just one example of how the Sumerians may have benefited from the guidance of the Anunnaki. The Sumerians were also highly skilled in building monumental structures. Ziggurats' massive stepped pyramids that reach toward the heavens are iconic symbols of Sumerian architecture. The precision and scale of these structures suggest that they were not merely religious temples, but perhaps technological marvels with purposes far beyond spiritual worship. Could the Anunnaki have shared their advanced architectural knowledge with the Sumerians? The complexity of these structures, some of the earliest large-scale buildings in human history, raises questions about the Sumerians' capabilities. If the Anunnaki were behind the design of these structures, their influence on Sumerian architecture could have been profound, shaping not just the cityscape, but the very development of civilization itself. The development of writing in Sumer was another revolutionary achievement. The Sumerians created cuneiform, one of the oldest known forms of written language. Cuneiform allowed the Sumerians to record their history, laws, and commerce, and it has been preserved for thousands of years. What's fascinating about the rise of cuneiform is the speed with which it emerged. Writing systems typically evolve over centuries, yet cuneiform appeared relatively suddenly. Could the Anunnaki, with their superior knowledge, have played a role in introducing writing to the Sumerians? If they were indeed extraterrestrial visitors or advanced beings from a forgotten age, they could have shared their own writing system or inspired the Sumerians to create one. The fact that the Sumerians were able to develop such a sophisticated system of writing so quickly suggests that their sources of inspiration may have been far more advanced than they were capable of inventing on their own. Legal systems, too, are an area in which the influence of the Anunnaki may be felt. The Sumerians were among the first to establish formal codes of law, such as the Code of Ur-Nammu, which predates the more famous Code of Hammurabi. This legal code laid the groundwork for future civilizations, influencing systems of justice that persist today. Could the Anunnaki, with their vast knowledge of governance, have played a role in the creation of these laws? The Sumerians believed their gods were the ultimate source of wisdom, and it's possible that the Anunnaki imparted their understanding of law and justice to the Sumerians. If this theory holds, it would suggest that the Anunnaki were not simply divine figures, but beings who had the ability to influence society on a much deeper level, providing humanity with the tools to build a functioning and just society. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Anunnaki's legacy is their connection to the stars. The Sumerians were highly skilled astronomers, and their understanding of the heavens was far more advanced than might be expected of an ancient civilization. They tracked the movements of the planets, created lunar calendars, and understood the cycles of celestial bodies. How did the Sumerians gain such sophisticated knowledge? Could the Anunnaki have shared their advanced understanding of astronomy with the Sumerians? If the Anunnaki were indeed visitors from another star system, their knowledge of the cosmos would likely have been far beyond that of the Sumerians. And it's possible that they taught the Sumerians how to navigate the stars, track planetary movements, and understand the deeper cosmic patterns. The mystery surrounding the Anunnaki is compounded by their eventual departure from Earth. According to Sumerian texts, the gods promised to return one day. What if this departure wasn't just a mythological event, but something far more significant? Could the Anunnaki have left Earth for a reason that we cannot yet comprehend? Some believe that their departure was not a permanent withdrawal, but part of a larger cosmic cycle in which the Anunnaki are waiting for humanity to reach a certain level of development before they return. This idea, while speculative, raises intriguing questions about the future of humanity and the Anunnaki's role in it. If the Anunnaki were indeed visitors from another world, could their return bring new knowledge, technological advancements, or even a new chapter in human civilization? The question of the Anunnaki's return is one that continues to captivate the imagination. If they were truly extraterrestrial visitors, could they still be out there, watching over humanity from afar, waiting for the right moment to guide us once again? Could the signs of their return be found in the ancient texts left behind by the Sumerians, hidden in plain sight? For those who know where to look, the idea that the Anunnaki will one day return is not just a story of ancient myth. It is a possibility that still resonates in the modern world. The search for answers about their role in human history is far from over. As long as the mystery of the Anunnaki remains unsolved, the possibility that they played a key role in shaping our world continues to drive curiosity and inspire new generations of thinkers. The legacy of the Anunnaki, whether divine or extraterrestrial, continues to shape our understanding of ancient civilizations. Their influence on the Sumerians, if indeed it was their influence, provided the foundation for the world we live in today. The knowledge they shared, whether in the form of agriculture writing law or astronomy, helped set the stage for the development of human society. The mysteries of the Anunnaki may never be fully understood, but the evidence suggests that their impact on early civilization is undeniable. Whether they were gods or visitors from another world, the Anunnaki remain one of the most fascinating and enduring puzzles in the history of humanity. As you reflect on the mysteries of Sumer, the silent ruins around you seem to whisper tales of ancient wisdom and knowledge. The structures that once towered over the land, the sacred ziggurats, the monumental tablets, etched with cuneiform, they all point to a civilization that was far more advanced than its time. What if the Sumerians were not the sole creators of this remarkable society? What if they were guided by beings whose knowledge of the natural world law, and even the cosmos, was far beyond anything the Sumerians could have conceived on their own? The Anunnaki central to Sumerian mythology are said to have descended from the heavens and bestowed their wisdom upon humanity. Could they have been more than gods in the traditional sense? Could they have been extraterrestrial visitors whose impact on early human civilization shaped its very foundations? Most historians agree that the Sumerians were the first to create the building blocks of civilization. They developed a written language, established trade, and created a complex system of laws. What's broadly accepted is that these advancements were a result of human ingenuity. Yet, there is something striking about the rapid rise of Sumerian society. How did a relatively small and primitive culture manage to develop such complex systems so quickly? The sudden leap in human development points to the possibility that the Sumerians received knowledge from a more advanced source. The Anunnaki, these beings whom the Sumerians believed were gods, may have played a crucial role in guiding the Sumerians as they made their advancements in agriculture, architecture, governance, and even science. One of the most notable achievements of the Sumerians was their ability to harness the power of agriculture. The Sumerians mastered irrigation, which allowed them to grow crops year-round and transform the land around the Tigris and Euphrates rivers into a fertile and prosperous region. This achievement was a crucial foundation for the rise of their cities and the development of their society. Could this knowledge have come from the Anunnaki? What if these beings shared their expertise with the Sumerians, helping them develop sophisticated irrigation systems that enabled their civilization to thrive? The scale and precision of the irrigation systems built by the Sumerians suggest that they may have had access to knowledge that was far beyond their own capabilities. The question of whether the Sumerians were independently responsible for their agricultural advancements, or whether the Anunnaki played a role, is a matter of ongoing debate. Some scholars argue that the Sumerians' agricultural knowledge was a product of trial and error honed over generations. Others suggest that the sudden and rapid rise of Sumer's agricultural systems could be a sign of external influence. If the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings, their knowledge of the land climate and water management could have been far more advanced than anything the Sumerians could have developed. The possibility that the Anunnaki shared their agricultural knowledge with the Sumerians is not just an intriguing idea. It would explain the extraordinary agricultural success of Sumer and the civilization's ability to sustain large populations. Another aspect of Sumerian society that raises questions about the influence of the Anunnaki is their architectural achievements. The ziggurats, the monumental step pyramids dedicated to the gods, are perhaps the most iconic symbols of Sumerian architecture. These massive structures were not only places of worship, but were also seen as sacred portals to the heavens. Could these ziggurats have been more than just religious monuments? Some theories suggest that the ziggurats were built as part of a larger plan, possibly related to the Anunnaki's advanced knowledge of energy manipulation astronomy, or even communication with extraterrestrial sources. The scale and complexity of these structures suggest that the Sumerians had access to knowledge of construction and engineering, far beyond what one would expect from an early civilization. Could the Anunnaki have provided the Sumerians with the architectural expertise needed to build such grand structures? The sudden development of writing in Sumer is another area where the Anunnaki's influence may be felt. The Sumerians are credited with creating the earliest known form of writing, cuneiform. This writing system, which began as a means of keeping records for trade, eventually evolved to document religious rituals, legal codes, and historical events. But how did the Sumerians develop such a complex writing system so quickly? Could the Anunnaki have played a role in the creation of cuneiform? It is possible that the Anunnaki shared their own writing system with the Sumerians, enabling them to communicate in a way that allowed them to document their society's achievements. The rapid development of cuneiform and its sudden appearance in Sumerian society suggests that the Sumerians may have had access to an advanced source of knowledge, possibly the Anunnaki. The development of law in Sumer is another key area where the Anunnaki may have influenced Sumerian society. The Code of Ur-Nammu. One of the earliest known legal codes was established by the Sumerians to provide a system of justice and governance. What if the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of social order, helped the Sumerians create their legal system? The Sumerians believed that their gods were the ultimate source of wisdom and justice. If the Anunnaki were advanced beings, they may have shared their own systems of governance and law, helping the Sumerians establish the first known legal code. The possibility that the Anunnaki played a role in the creation of Sumerian law raises the question of whether the Sumerians' rapid development was truly the result of human effort alone, or whether external guidance was involved. Beyond their practical contributions to agriculture, architecture, and law, the Anunnaki were also associated with the stars. The Sumerians were expert astronomers, tracking the movements of celestial bodies with great precision. They created calendars based on the lunar and solar cycles and used their knowledge of the stars to guide their agricultural practices and religious observances. Could the Anunnaki, with their far superior knowledge of the cosmos, have shared their understanding of the heavens with the Sumerians? The Sumerians believed that their gods came from the stars, and the possibility that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings who shared their astronomical knowledge with the Sumerians raises profound questions about the origins of human understanding of the stars and planets. As you continue to walk through the ruins of Sumer, the question of the Anunnaki's true nature remains unresolved. Were they gods as the Sumerians believed, or were they beings from another world with knowledge that far surpassed anything the Sumerians could have developed on their own? The evidence suggests that the Anunnaki played a significant role in the rise of Sumerian civilization, whether as divine beings or as visitors from another world. Could they have been the catalyst that sparked the development of early human civilization, providing the knowledge that allowed the Sumerians to build a complex society? The mysteries of the Anunnaki remain unsolved, but their influence on the course of history is undeniable. As you leave the ancient city behind, the search for answers continues, and the legacy of the Anunnaki lives on. As you wander through the quiet remnants of Sumer, it becomes more apparent how rich and complex the civilization was. Despite the centuries that have passed, the grandeur of their achievements still lingers in the air. The ruins of the ziggurats, the remnants of once vibrant cities, and the broken stone tablets scattered across the land tell the story of a people who made remarkable advances in agriculture law writing and astronomy. But what if these advancements weren't entirely of their own making? What if the Sumerians' rapid rise to such heights was assisted by the Anunnaki beings of extraordinary power and wisdom? Were the Anunnaki gods in the traditional sense, or were they something else entirely? Visitors from another world, perhaps. The more you explore, the more the lines between myth and reality blur, leaving you to wonder just how much of this history can be explained by what we know today, and how much is the result of extraterrestrial influence. Mainstream history tells us that the Sumerians were the first great civilization, developing many of the systems we still use today, from writing and agriculture to governance. The Sumerians' rapid advances in these areas have always been a point of fascination. What's broadly accepted is that their society evolved quickly from simple agrarian settlements to urban centers with sophisticated systems of trade and governance. But could this leap in civilization have occurred without external influence? Could the Anunnaki, whose wisdom is immortalized in Sumerian texts, have guided the Sumerians in their early development? Their role in this process, if not divine, might have been more instrumental than previously thought. One of the most significant advancements made by the Sumerians was their mastery of agriculture. The Sumerians harnessed the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, using them to irrigate the land and cultivate crops that could sustain large urban populations. They established one of the earliest agricultural societies and laid the foundation for modern farming techniques. But how did they learn to harness the land so effectively? Could the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of agriculture and resource management, have played a role in teaching the Sumerians how to use the rivers to their advantage? Given the rapid and profound success of Sumerian agriculture, it's possible that this knowledge was imparted by beings whose grasp of ecological systems far exceeded the Sumerians' own capabilities. If the Anunnaki did assist the Sumerians, it would explain how they were able to quickly transform a once harsh arid land into the fertile cradle of civilization. The advanced nature of Sumerian society extended beyond farming. The Sumerians were also skilled builders, creating cities with intricate planning and massive structures. The ziggurats' towering step pyramids dedicated to the gods are perhaps the most iconic symbols of Sumerian architecture. These monumental structures, built with great precision and skill, stand as a testament to the Sumerians' advanced engineering knowledge. However, the scale and complexity of these buildings raise the question: could such advanced construction techniques have been developed by the Sumerians on their own? What if the Anunnaki provided guidance in the creation of these monumental structures? Could they have shared advanced engineering techniques or even helped design the ziggurats as part of a larger plan? These structures may have served as more than religious sites. They could have had practical applications, such as energy manipulation or astronomical observation, further suggesting the involvement of beings with superior knowledge. Another key area where the Anunnaki's influence might have been felt is in the development of the Sumerian writing system cuneiform. The Sumerians are credited with creating one of the first systems of written communication, which allowed them to document trade record history and establish laws. The ability to write allowed the Sumerians to preserve their culture, transmit knowledge across generations, and build a lasting society. But where did the Sumerians gain the knowledge to create such a sophisticated writing system? Could the Anunnaki have taught them the principles of written language, sharing their advanced methods of communication? The sudden emergence of cuneiform without any clear precursor suggests that the Sumerians may have received this knowledge from an outside source. If the Anunnaki were indeed visitors with a much more advanced language system, their influence on the development of cuneiform could have been significant. The Sumerians may have adapted this knowledge to their own needs, creating a written language that allowed them to thrive. The Sumerians were also pioneers in the field of law. The Code of Ur-Nammu, one of the oldest known legal codes, set the foundation for future systems of justice. What if the Anunnaki played a role in the creation of these laws? The Sumerians saw their gods as the ultimate source of wisdom and justice, and it is possible that the Anunnaki shared their knowledge of governance and law with the Sumerians. Given the complexity and organization of the Sumerian legal system, it's plausible that these laws were inspired by an outside source, one that had a much deeper understanding of society and governance than the Sumerians could have developed on their own. The rapid development of legal codes in Sumer suggests that the Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of human society, may have helped the Sumerians build a fair and functioning legal system. The Sumerians were also exceptional astronomers, with an understanding of the stars that was far beyond what we might expect from such an ancient civilization. They created lunar calendars, tracked the movements of the planets, and observed celestial phenomena with incredible precision. What if this knowledge of the stars came from the Anunnaki? If the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings, their knowledge of the heavens could have been far more advanced than anything the Sumerians could have developed on their own. It is possible that the Anunnaki shared their astronomical knowledge with the Sumerians, teaching them to track the stars, observe celestial patterns, and use this knowledge for practical purposes as like agriculture. The Sumerians' advanced understanding of astronomy may have been a gift from the Anunnaki, allowing them to navigate the cosmos and guide their civilization in ways that other ancient cultures could not. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Anunnaki's story is their eventual departure from Earth. According to Sumerian texts, the gods left the Earth but promised to return. This concept of divine return is present in many ancient cultures, and it raises profound questions about the nature of the Anunnaki's role in human history. What if their departure was not a myth, but a signal that their time on Earth had come to an end? Could the Anunnaki have left for a reason beyond the Sumerians' understanding, perhaps to return when humanity was ready for further guidance? Some theories suggest that the Anunnaki are waiting for the right moment to return, perhaps when humanity reaches a certain level of development. What would their return signify? Could it be that the Anunnaki will bring new knowledge, or will their return herald a new phase in human history? As you stand among the ruins, the questions continue to swirl. The Sumerians may have been the architects of their civilization. But what if their success was not entirely their own? Could the Anunnaki, with their advanced knowledge and technology, have been the guiding force behind the rise of one of the world's first great civilizations? The evidence points to the possibility that the Anunnaki played a significant role in shaping the early stages of human history. Whether they were divine beings, extraterrestrial visitors, or something else entirely, their impact on the course of human civilization cannot be denied. As you leave the ancient city behind, the search for answers continues, and the legacy of the Anunnaki remains an enduring mystery. The wind whispers through the crumbling walls of the ancient city, carrying with it echoes of a forgotten time. As you walk among the ruins, the questions surrounding the Sumerians and their mysterious gods, the Anunnaki, linger in your mind. The monumental structures, the artifacts, and the written records left behind, all speak of a civilization that was both incredibly advanced and deeply connected to its gods. What if the Sumerians' rapid advancements in agriculture, architecture, law, and writing were not just the result of their own ingenuity, but were influenced by beings far more advanced than they were, beings who might not have been gods in the traditional sense, but visitors from another world? Could the Anunnaki have played a pivotal role in the rise of Sumerian civilization, guiding humanity at a time when it was still finding its footing. Most historians agree that the Sumerians were among the first to develop the foundations of human civilization. They built the first cities, created a system of writing, and established one of the earliest legal codes. What's broadly accepted is that these innovations allowed the Sumerians to thrive in a challenging environment. But what if their rapid progress was the result of more than just human ingenuity? Could the Anunnaki described by the Sumerians as powerful and wise beings have been instrumental in helping the Sumerians advance so quickly? The possibility that the Anunnaki, whether divine or extraterrestrial, played a role in shaping Sumerian society opens up new avenues of exploration, suggesting that the story of human civilization may be more complex than we've imagined. The Sumerians' mastery of agriculture is one of the first achievements that comes to mind when thinking about their early success. They transformed the arid land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers into a fertile, productive region, creating the foundation for their cities and civilization. The development of sophisticated irrigation systems allowed them to cultivate crops year-round, ensuring a stable food supply and supporting the growth of large populations. But could the Sumerians have developed such advanced agricultural techniques on their own? What if the Anunnaki, with their far superior knowledge of the natural world, helped the Sumerians unlock the secrets of farming and water management? The rapid rise of Sumer's agricultural capabilities points to the possibility of external influence. The Anunnaki's knowledge of agriculture and land management could have been far beyond what the Sumerians could have developed independently. This would explain how a relatively small civilization was able to master the land and build a thriving society in such a short time. The architecture of Sumer is another area in which the Anunnaki's influence could be felt. The ziggurats' towering step pyramids dedicated to the gods are perhaps the most iconic symbols of Sumerian architecture. These monumental structures were not only religious temples, but also served as the centers of Sumerian cities. The complexity and scale of the ziggurats suggest that they were not simple buildings, but rather technological marvels. Could the Anunnaki have shared advanced architectural techniques with the Sumerians, guiding them in the creation of these grand structures? The possibility that the ziggurats were not merely religious in purpose, but were also designed for energy manipulation, astronomical observation, or even communication with extraterrestrial sources suggests that the Anunnaki played a more significant role in Sumerian architecture than previously thought. The precision and complexity of these buildings raise the question of whether the Sumerians had access to knowledge that was far beyond what they could have developed on their own. In addition to their agricultural and architectural achievements, the Sumerians also developed one of the earliest systems of writing. Cuneiform, the Sumerian writing system, allowed the civilization to document everything from trade transactions to religious rituals. Writing provided the Sumerians with the tools to preserve their history and culture, creating a lasting legacy that would influence future civilizations. What if this system of writing wasn't solely the result of Sumerian creativity, but was influenced by the Anunnaki? The rapid emergence of cuneiform suggests that the Sumerians may have been guided by an external source in the development of their writing system. If the Anunnaki were advanced beings, their own system of writing could have inspired the creation of cuneiform. The Sumerians, who were already skilled in record-keeping, may have adapted this external system to their own needs, creating a written language that was both practical and sophisticated. The development of law in Sumer is another example of the Sumerians' remarkable achievements. The Code of Ur-Nammu, one of the earliest known legal codes, established laws that governed everything from marriage to property rights. What if the Anunnaki had a hand in the creation of this legal system? The Sumerians saw their gods as the ultimate source of wisdom and justice. And it is possible that the Anunnaki, with their superior knowledge of governance and social order, played a role in shaping Sumerian law. The complexity and fairness of the Sumerian legal system suggests that it was influenced by a higher source. The Anunnaki, with their advanced understanding of society and human behavior, may have helped the Sumerians create a system of laws that was ahead of its time, laying the groundwork for future civilizations to build upon. Perhaps one of the most striking areas where the Anunnaki's influence is evident is in the Sumerians' understanding of the cosmos. The Sumerians were skilled astronomers, able to track the movements of the stars and planets with remarkable precision. They created calendars based on lunar and solar cycles and used their knowledge of the heavens to guide agricultural practices and religious ceremonies. How did the Sumerians gain such advanced knowledge of the stars? Could the Anunnaki, who were described as beings from the heavens, have shared their astronomical knowledge with the Sumerians? If the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings, their understanding of the cosmos would likely have been far beyond anything the Sumerians could have developed on their own. The Sumerians' ability to chart the stars and planets with such accuracy suggests that the Anunnaki played a significant role in guiding their understanding of the heavens. The most compelling aspect of the Anunnaki's story is their eventual departure from Earth. According to Sumerian texts, the gods left Earth but promised to return. What if this departure was not just a mythological event, but a reflection of their true nature? Could the Anunnaki have left Earth for a reason that we cannot yet comprehend? Some theories propose that the Anunnaki left because their mission on Earth was complete, or that they left to await humanity's further development. If the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings, they could have left Earth temporarily, awaiting the right time to return when humanity had reached a certain level of maturity or technological advancement. The idea that the Anunnaki will return raises the possibility that their mission on Earth is not yet over. Their eventual return could signal a new phase in human history, one that could once again be shaped by their knowledge and wisdom. As you stand in the ruins of Sumer, the story of the Anunnaki continues to unfold in your mind. Were they gods as the Sumerians believed, or were they extraterrestrial visitors who helped guide the early stages of human civilization? The evidence points to the possibility that the Anunnaki played a significant role in shaping the foundations of Sumerian society. Whether they were divine beings, extraterrestrial visitors, or something else entirely, their influence on humanity's development is undeniable. The legacy of the Anunnaki continues to resonate, both in the ancient texts left behind and in the enduring mystery of their true identity. The story of the Anunnaki is far from over, and as humanity continues to seek answers, their influence may still shape the future of our civilization. Sweet dreams.